course, the Majority Leader, who's the author of Senate Bill number 3, Senator Tito Sotto, Senator HOnasan, Senator Nancy Binay. The hearing was just suspended the last time, so we'll just continue. I'd like to acknowledge also the presence of the DOJ Secretary Aguirre. It's an honor to have you here, Secretary. And the Presumptive Undersecretary of DOJ, Ericson, Presumptive forever.
Yes, Your Honor.
The chairman of the new chairman of DDB, Secretary Benjamin Reyes, of course, Oscar Albayalde, Police, not Director yet, Chief Superintendent, NCRPO, and then NOEL, Police Director Franco, of course, si Sid, Director General of PDEA, Lapena, and then NBI Director Dante. Sino pa ba? Usec, Malacat, magandang umaga po sa inyo. Sino pa nandito? Representatives from DOJ, from Philippine Health, Dr. Francisco Soria, Dr. Jasmine, Peralta, and Usec Punzalan. Magandang umaga po sa inyo lahat. Meron bang ano? Anyway, let's proceed. For the information of Senator Sotto, we received the position papers of the different agencies, no? They submitted, and very briefly, ang sinasabi ito, they're all in agreement, they support your bill, ano? Only, meron sila mga comments. Ang common comment dito, hindi masyadong defined yung role, no, ng ibang allied agencies like the PNP, the NBI, BOC, AFP, and so forth and so on. So, without much ado and not to waste too much time, I'll give you the floor so you can articulate yung content ng iyong bill. You have the floor, Senator Sotto.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to everyone. I would like to apologize to the chairman, first of all, because I was not able to attend the first hearing, thinking that I was able to explain the intention or the intent of Senate Bill number 3 during our last meeting. But I forgot that our last meeting was held in Camp Crame and only the PNP were there. But you headed the meeting together with Senator HOnasan. I think I was able to explain mostly the intention of Senate Bill number 3. So I failed to explain it fully in the first public order dangerous drugs committee meeting. So I apologize for that. So thank you now for giving me the chance to elaborate more.
If you can also propound the questions.
Oh, yes, yes, I will. I hope, but I hope I can have enough time to explain. During that meeting, we agreed that, well, of course, let me say it outright. The Senate Bill number 3 is not written in stone. No, we will be hearing your comments, and we will be able to perhaps make it better, if not the best. No, it is an offshoot of what has transpired in the last 14 years after the Dangerous Drugs Act created the PDEA, and upgraded the Dangerous Drugs Board. There were pitfalls, there were issues, and I think the SB number 3 intends to cure or to correct some of that, most of that. First, we agreed with Senator Lacson and Senator HOnasan and members of the PNP that Senate Bill number 3 will be called the Presidential Drug Enforcement Authority. That was the original proposal in 2001 when I'm sorry, originally in 1992 when I first proposed this after a successful formula in Quezon City. We will call it the Presidential Drug Enforcement Authority. Now, why SB number 3? The intention of the creation of the PDEA and the upgrading of the Dangerous Drugs Board in 2002 I think, was misinterpreted and not executed fully to its real intention. We wanted then to we wanted to create a structure, in 2002, that will be able to execute.
Sorry,
Yes, sorry.
I failed to mention the presence of Governor Vichara, Executive Director ni Governor Vichara. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. As I was saying, the structure was created to execute the four major concerns or a holistic approach in fighting the war on drugs. And most of you who have been fighting this know that we cannot win this with enforcement alone. It has to be enforcement, prosecution, prevention or preventive education, and rehabilitation. It has to be this four-way approach. Second ranking would be alternative development, perhaps. But the four major concerns were the real intention or the address of the creation of the PDEA before and the upgrading. Now, what happened was somewhere along the way, PDEA became an agency of its own. It is supposed to be the enforcement arm of the DDB. But there was a detachment somewhere along the way. Even when I became chairman of the DDB, I noticed that, there was no harmony when the PDEA was supposed to be the enforcement arm of DDB. Now, DDB has its faults. Why? According to the law, they should meet once a week. At the very least, once a month, but the law says once a week. They never met. They met twice a year. 3 times a year, maximum. The only time they met monthly was when I became chairman, because I insisted. I told the president then that I wanted the department secretaries to attend. Our problem then, perhaps, was creating a DDB that had 17 departments and represented by the secretaries. It was like a cabinet meeting. Laging walang quorum. Yeah, so you see the problem that we encountered, no? And then the enforcement of PDEA was not really coordinated with the PNP or the NBI. Somehow it was, but it was not fully coordinated. When the real intention of the creation of PDEA was like USDA. It will have supervision, but the PNP will be the anti-illegal drug group and perhaps units of the NBI or even the armed forces. Parang yung USDA dito, for so long a time, there were only USDA in the country, but they were effective. Ganun ang ganun yung strategy talaga originally, no? The only time that an elite force of PDEA should be used is when the area is compromised. Other than that, it should be the PNP for enforcement. Now, the problem also, again, it was misinterpreted because ang prosecution, it was left fully to the DOJ. No coordination whatsoever with the enforcement arms. So what happened? Right now, 74% dismissal of drug cases. Even before that, more than 80% dismissal of drug cases. In the last 6 years, it was the worst. And in the last 6 years, they even removed an executive order by then President Macapagal, which used a circular by Secretary Simeon Datumanong that all drug cases dismissed shall be automatically reviewed by the Office of the President. May circular na ganon at may executive order na ganon. It was removed in the last 6 years. So, lalong lumala yung dismissal ng cases. No? Then, why? It was not coordinated. Pag sinita mo yung mga prosecutor, ano na nangyari? Sasabihin sa akin, sir, yung mga PDEA nyo, tsaka mga polis nyo, di marunong mag-file ng kaso eh. Di marunong mag-prepare ng kaso. Pag sinita mo PDEA, sinita mo polis, ano nangyayari? Hindi rin kayo marunong mag-file ng kaso. Ang sagot sa akin, hindi sir, yung mga prosecutor nyo, malalagyan. Nakita nyo yung miscord. Ano? So, that is only two of the aspects. What about prevention and preventive education? Right now, I think the PNP is preparing a preventive education campaign. That's good, but that's not their work. Hindi sa kanila dapat yun. Dapat yun sa DepEd. Hindi ba? Even the preventive education campaign should be in all schools. Drug abuse resistance education should have in all grade 6 levels. Why grade 6? Because they're about to turn teenagers. Yun yung dapat na hindi na curious. Dapat alam na nila na masama ang droga, hindi dapat. Kaya doon ang prevention campaign. And then the fourth, rehabilitation. Wala rin siya yung PDEA, wala rin siya yung DDB. Wala rin siya yung PNP. Bakit? Nasa DOH. Hindi priority ng DOH. It's a good thing that Dr. Reyes, who was a member of the DDB then, who is now chairman of the DDB, I congratulate you for that, understands the plight. Di ba? Tama yung sinasabi ko. Hindi naging priority ang rehabilitation. Kaya ilan ang rehabilitation center in the country? When I was DDB chair, 48. Ang accredited lang ng DOH, 13. Can you imagine that? So, kaya tayo kulang na kulang ngayon. And so, the intention of Senate Bill number 3 is to correct all of this by upgrading the DDB and the PDEA into a Presidential Drug Enforcement Authority under the Office of the President. With the President like President Duterte, this will work. I am sure this will work. Now, we will hopefully accept your proposals or the other intentions, or I'm sorry, the other concerns that you might have. But as I said, hopefully we will be able to craft, the committee of Senator Lacson will be able to craft a bill that will address this particular problem and hopefully win the war on drugs. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Sotto. I'd like to also welcome Senior Deputy State Counsel. Kala ko, Chief State Prosecutor ka na, Dong. Senior Deputy State Counsel, Dong Padulyon. Welcome to this hearing. We will also continue the discussion on Senate Bill number 8. Yun yung Affordable Drug Rehabilitation Treatment for Philippine Health Insurance Corporation. Senate Bill 2148, ito yung sa wiretapping. No? And we were also in receipt of position papers from the different agencies do sa wiretapping. May question lang sa DOJ. You have a suggestion to apply the one-party consent rule. Hindi ba tayo madadali sa constitutionality nito? Kaya, kasi you submitted a position paper that you suggest, or you're suggesting the application of a one-party consent rule, meaning we will be allowed, or a law enforcement agent will be allowed to record any conversation without having to obtain a court order, so long as the agent is one party to the conversation, has number 2 has obtained the prior consent of one party to the said conversation.
Yes,
so kindly expound on this.
Mr. Chairman. Actually, this will be a relaxation of the stringent requirements under Republic Act 4200. But this is already being practiced in the U.S. So I believe that given some provisions to safeguard our constitutional rights, we could pass this without any problem that it is unconstitutional or violative of the due process law or of any of the rights of the accused or of any particular person.
Thank you, sir, for your response. So, kailangan pa rin ng consent ng other party na nasa other end of the line, hindi na? one
No,
party lang.
one party nga lang.
So, binigyan ko ng staffs ko ng note dito, no? It might violate Section 2, Article 3 of the Constitution against unreasonable searches and seizures, and Section 3(1) of the same article of the yung privacy of communication. Baka doon tayo madali.
Opo, but
Siyempre, gusto rin natin, lalong gusto ng law enforcement agency ito. Gusto rin namin supportahan ito, but then, without the consent of the other party, you're intruding into his privacy, so to speak.
that's right, Mr. Chairman, but there must be really some safeguards that must be placed, which should be approved by the court. Must be approved by the court.
Kailangan pa rin ng court order.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Well, if there is a court order, we don't even need the one-party consent rule because after we secure the court order, after we have satisfied all the requirements to secure a court order, hindi na natin kailangan yung one-party consent rule, Mr.
Yes,
Secretary.
but if there is no court order, the law might require the two-party consent. So in this case, the court's discretion will be limited as long as there's one party giving consent.
Thank you, sir. Senator Nasan, you have some questions?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Secretary Aguirre, would you have records of how many drug cases were filed in the last 5 years?
Yes, Senator Sotto.
Would you please inform the committee?
Anong pinakita mo sa akin kanina? May I read for the record, Mr. Senator?
Yes, sir.
In 2011, there was a total of 14,015 cases, and we have conviction in court of 707. 2012, 16,337 with conviction, 16,337 with conviction of 693. 2013, 697 cases with conviction of 711. In 2014, there were 31,505 cases with a conviction of 589. In 2015, we have 43,462 cases. 2015, 43,462 with conviction of 782 cases. The 5-year total is that we have 126,016 cases.
And the resolution rate? Or the total of convictions?
The total conviction numbers
Wala pang
we have
5,000.
only 3,482 convictions, Mr. Senator.
So the total is 126,000
6,016 cases.
and 3,000 convictions,
3,482 convictions.
482 convictions. What happened to the 123,000? They left the country?
We have a breakdown, Mr. Senator. I think
Sige mo, sir, for the record.
Prosecutor FADULLON could better answer it.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, with respect to the cases filed from 2011 to 2016, majority of them, informations have been filed in court. For 2011, we have a total of 13,126 cases which were filed in court. In 2012, the department had about 15,466 informations filed in court. In 2013, there was about 19,261 cases filed in court. In 2014, 30,461 cases filed in court. 2015, 155 cases filed in court. And in 2016, as of August 15, 2016, we had filed 16,123 cases, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, what happened to the circular that I was talking about coming from the time of Secretary Datumanong, that all drug cases should be automatically reviewed by the Office of the President?
Sir, if I may, the circular that is now in effect as far as automatic review is concerned, sir, pertains to the delegated power of the Secretary of Justice to conduct the same, sir. So cases which are dismissed in the field offices of the department are the ones which are elevated for automatic review by the Secretary, through the Secretary of Justice, Your Honor.
So you're now following that procedure?
Yes, sir. Per Department Circular 006, this is a series of February 10, 2016.
2016?
Yes, sir.
So before that, the circular that was enforced, you're no longer following that?
No, sir. As far as I can remember, sir, because I have just been appointed recently as a task force chair of the anti-illegal drugs cases. Cases for automatic review were always with the Office of the Secretary, even up to the time, during the time of then Secretary Raul Gonzalez, sir. Sir, automatic review of cases dismissed in the field offices were reviewed and filed with the Department of Justice to the Secretary of Justice, sir.
May I interject, Your Honor? Would you know kung kailan na bigyan ng parol si Odicta? Under whose watch? Kung alam mo lang, if you're sure to answer.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't have that information.
He was a convicted drug suspect, hindi ba? And we just learned that he was out of Muntinlupa, so he must be pardoned or given parole. And kung alam mo lang, Attorney.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I don't have that information right now, but I can try to secure that for you, sir.
Please secure the information.
Yes,
I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Director General De La Rosa, and also sa yung barangay, Liga ng mga Barangay, Attorney Edmond, and also Julius Walteros. You're representing the Municipal League of Cities. So, I'd like to take advantage of your presence, pati si General De La Rosa, para isama na sa agenda itong two bills that I filed. One is Senate Bill 971. With your permission, Your Honor. I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator De Lima. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
Senate Bill 971, essentially, it is an amendment to the provisions of 8551, the amendatory law of 6975. Ito, we'll take your position on this, because ang amendment dito, basically, provincial director shall be chosen by the regional director from a list of 3 qualified and eligible candidates recommended by the PNP Senior Officers Placement and Promotion Board. And then the chiefs of police of municipalities and cities will be chosen by the provincial director. It goes without saying that the chief PNP has the override, the veto power over those to be to be chosen by the regional directors and the provincial directors. In effect, it is removing from the local executives yung power to choose from a list of 3 and 5 candidates respectively. I'm sure there will be some violent reactions from the local executives present, but this is a bill that I filed kasi lagi nagkakaroon ng animosity, hindi ba? And the PNP has always a way of going around this provision by just appointing OICs. Hindi ba? Ganun ang nangyayari. But this is not to remove your operational control because after all, you are the chief executives of the provinces and the cities and municipalities. So nandun pa rin yung the power to employ and deploy. Ang inalis lang natin dito, yung the PNP will have to go through the exercise of submitting to you, to the local executives concerned, a list of 3 and 5 recommendees, no? Para ma-facilitate yung performance nila, yung law enforcement duties nila. Sila na mamimili. After all, they know their people more than the local executives. And para mawala na rin yung patronage politics. Kasi ang nangyayari, sa halip na lumapit sa PNP, sa Promotions Board, at tingnan yung merits, ang pinupuntahan ng mga pulis natin, yung mga mayors, saka yung mga governors eh. And sometimes, nagkakaroon ng animosity pagka nagkaroon ng appointment as OIC na hindi napili ng governor, naku, away na. So affected yung law enforcement function. And more often than not, pagka nag-flex ng muscle yung mayor o yung governor, inaalis pa yung mga baril na inisyu, inaalis pa yung mga sasakyan. No, I know this for a fact because I've experienced this. And I know the predicament of the PNP leadership in this regard. Another bill that I filed, request ito ng CIDG when we visited them last August 15, kami tatlo, Senate Bill 1052. I-restore lang yung subpoena power ng CIDG director. After all, when it was still CIU and CIS, meron silang subpoena power. But I think this was an oversight when the ones who crafted the Republic Act, yung PNP Law 6975, nakalimutang ilagay. And NBI has that authority to issue subpoena. Administrative subpoena lang naman ito. Hindi ito yung wala itong contempt. There is no contempt power, no? Just the subpoena authority. Para lang mas maging efficient, mas maging effective yung CIDG director in his law enforcement function. So, I'd like to recognize, we'll hear your comments afterwards, ano? Bigyan ko lang ng floor kay Senator HOnasan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Aguirre.
Senator.
Good morning po. Please educate us on the issue I want to raise, taking off from the issue raised by our chairman. Ano ho ba ang quantum of evidence required para payagan ng korte yung wiretapping? Dahil linagay ho namin sa bill namin, no? I'm referring to proposed Senate Bill 21 and 48. Is it going to be mere suspicion or probable cause? Sa bill ho namin, linagay namin probable cause. Pero let me explain, give me a little time to explain. No? Mabuti ho si Senator Lacson at saka si Senator Sotto, may ground time sa anti-drug operations. No? One lifetime ago, when we were assigned to the Ministry of National Defense, we went against drug traffickers also. Hindi pa huuso nun yung shabu. So, heroin, cocaine. Can you imagine ho ang feeling ko no? Army officer. I did not even know what cocaine or heroin looked like. But I raised this issue because this might be material to our operators on the ground. Panahon ho namin to, that's about 30, 40 years ago. We're operating under a window. Huhulihin mo talaga yung conversation in that window. Of course, iba ho ang sitwasyon, no? We are under different circumstances. So, pag hindi ka nakapasok dun sa window, wala na. Because orders, instructions from the heads of the drug syndicates would be translated into action on the ground. Sa kwan ho ito, no? Sa mga sindikato. Kami naman ho, we operated under the... We tried to wiretap. Of course, we operated under the instructions of the Minister of National Defense. Ngayon ho, we need to strike a balance between rights. So, tinatanong ko lamang po yon because I'm looking at this from the perspective of our operators, where kailangan mahuli nila yung conversation within a window. Would this determination as a basis for a court order be material to that time variable? Would it matter if mere suspicion or importante yung probable cause para mahuli talaga natin yung conversation?
May I first go on the quantum of evidence necessary in some other cases?
Opo.
We know that in cases of in criminal conviction, it is proof beyond reasonable doubt. In civil cases, then preponderance of evidence only. Sino mas maraming or mas matindi ang ebidensya, then he will be the one to win in civil cases. Then in administrative cases, we have substantial evidence in order that the respondent in administrative cases would be given a penalty as called for by the law. In your case, I believe that it is mere existence of probable cause. And probable cause defined as such facts and circumstances that would lead a reasonable prudent man to believe that a crime has been committed and that the accused or person in custody of the law is guilty, and there should be a case should be filed against him. This is in connection with the investigation, preliminary investigation of criminal cases before our prosecutors, before the Department of Justice and our Fiscal's Office. Now, in connection with this wiretapping act, we believe that the probable cause should be present before the judge or a court would allow the wiretapping or would issue the order to wiretap a certain conversation. In the United States, under Code 2518, which is the procedure for interception of oral, wire, or electronic communications, it is provided that 3. Upon such application, the judge may enter an ex parte order as requested or as modified, authorizing or approving interception of wire, oral, or oral electronic communications within the territorial jurisdiction of the court in which the judge is sitting. And outside that jurisdiction, a mobile interception device authorized by a federal court may be allowed. So it is the judge that determines on the basis of the facts submitted by the applicant whether a probable cause is present. So we believe that the wordings of the bill is correct, that it is only the quantum evidence as called for under the definition of probable cause.
Thank you, Secretary. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, one last comment. I just want to relate this ngayon, Secretary, gentlemen, to the political window that is given to our police, to the NBI, even to the armed forces, who will, I understand, be involved in this, after it has been declared as a total war and practically a national security problem. Alam nyo, Secretary, I don't know when this political window will happen again in our lifetime. Actually, we raised this in another committee hearing, Inggit na inggit kami ni Senator Lacson kina General De La Rosa. Because the political leadership, I said, you do your job. Just don't give me any BS, You tell me the truth. You do your job, I will give the orders. And I will assume responsibility for the orders that I give you. That's why I ask Director General De La Rosa, may inutos ba sa inyong illegal or constitutional or yung, alam mo yung to an operator, 1 second of hesitation is life and death. Pag medyo nag-hesitate ka o may duda ka dun sa sanity or the morality or the legality of the order, patay ho kayo. Senator Lacson and I, when we were in the armed forces, operated under that advantage. When we were given an order, alam nyo, Secretary, it was almost linear. Yun ang mission, yun ang kalaban. Diretso, we never looked back. Ngayon ho, we have that window. And I'm happy that General De La Rosa, no? I'm not doing this to, hindi naman ako nagpapalakas kay Bato, no? I'm happy that they recognize the fact that their job is to implement policy, not to explain policy. That is the job of the political leadership, the one giving the order. And categorically, the political leadership has said that he is, or the executive is assuming full responsibility for all these orders. I just put that on the table para we can reconcile what is required if we pass these laws, no? At operational level, and the consistency that is required at political level. Salamat po, Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
May I have a comment, Mr. Senator? I believe I agree with you, and we have to take this opportunity that presents to us only at this very moment. So, as we say in the military, obey first, ask question later.
Salamat po.
Senator Sotto is recognized.
Yes,
After
just
Senator Sotto,
to wrap-
Senator De Lima.
Just to wrap up my issues with the Department of Justice. So, after receiving these statistics, so in the last 5 years, 3,482 convictions out of 126,000. How many cases were reviewed? How many dismissed drug cases were reviewed by the Office of the President through the DOJ Secretary?
Of the total, this is with respect to DOJ only, Mr. Senator. Of the total cases received from 2010 to 2016 as of July 31, we have received a total of 3,081 cases. The pending
81 cases.
automatic review
Automatic review.
is 1,581. The automatic review resolved is 1,469. And those pending with the motion for reconsideration with the Prosecutor General is 22. And the MR on the AA resolved or automatically resolved is 9. So,
Ano ho nangyari doon sa 1,469?
yung po ang question natin na hindi natin alam dito, these statistics na ito, whether those cases have been dismissed favorably or against the government.
Yeah, that's
Wala
what I
pong
wanted
picture
to know.
tayo
So,
dun
can your undersecretaries find out for us so that we can submit to the committee?
Yes, Your
Ano
Honor.
nangyari dito sa 1,469 na ni-review?
Yes, Mr. Senator, we will submit the breakdown of the cases, how they were resolved.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Before I recognize Senator De Lima, bago lang iwanan yung wiretapping issue, yung PDEA has, ang position nyo is mere suspicion, hindi ba? And I see your point because pagka probable cause nga naman, arestuhin na nila. They don't need a court order because once they have established probable cause, they'll just arrest the perpetrators or the offenders. Kaya ang position lies a mere suspicion, pwede nang gawing basis to apply for a court order to wiretap communications. So, what's your comment, Secretary?
Mr. Senator, yung po kasing sinasabi ng probable cause, it is the amount of evidence to be submitted to the judge. In other words, this is not addressed to the law enforcement officers. Kukuha pa lang tayo ng the order to allow the wiretapping.
I would like to comment.
Yes, Your Honor. We recommended that the amendment of the anti-wiretapping law to the level of the exemption given to terrorism and the anti-kidnapping for anti-kidnapping cases, Your Honor.
This will make the operation against drugs, against illegal drugs, to be more easier, Your Honor.
Well, instead of suspicion, maybe we can use the term reasonable ground to believe, no? And that's below the level of probable cause. Kasi for probable cause, we're talking of filing of information in court. Kailangan ma-appreciate. Kaya nga meron pang judicial determination of probable cause pagdating sa level ng korte. Pero yung reasonable ground to believe, ito yung old sa rules of court. Di ba yung dating law enforcement officer may arrest on the basis of reasonable ground. Naalis na yun eh. Inaiba na yun kasi in his presence, has just been committed, about to be committed, nawala na yung reasonable ground to believe. But at least, when a law enforcement agent wants to secure a court order to wiretap communication, baka pwedeng gamitin na lang yung reasonable ground because we're crafting a law for the guidance of the judge who will issue the court order. Ako I'm in agreement doon sa proposal na ibaba na sa RTC. Kasi kung Court of Appeals, naisip ko lang kasi when I crafted the bill, sinunod namin sa Human Security Act or sa money laundering na kailangan Court of Appeals. But it's going to be a more difficult task to approach Court of Appeals divisions for that matter, no?
Opo, the problem there is that if we limit it to the RTCs, it will have limited territorial jurisdiction. So if the persons to be tapped, especially under our laws, which requires the, if there is consent, the required of both parties, one may be outside the jurisdiction of the RTC, then perhaps we could create a special RTCs which will have jurisdiction over the whole Philippines, just like the issuance of not necessarily specific. We just empower some RTCs, just like in search warrants, where QC, the RTCs of Manila and Quezon City could issue search warrants that would be effective even outside the National Capital Region.
Yung ex parte is a no-brainer, ano? Kasi pagka naman nag-hearing pa yan bago ma-issue yung court order, eh, hindi na magsasalita sa telepono yung kausap mo. So it's a no-brainer. Wala tayong issue doon. Ang issue lang dito, ano yung level ng, anong ground ang kailangan natin for the judge to be authorized under the law or under the amendment to issue a court order. Is it mere suspicion, reasonable ground to believe, probable cause, or kung anumang level?
We will have no objection, serious objection, if it will be lowered to mere suspicion or between probable cause and but above suspicion. So sa gitna.
Above suspicion and lower than probable cause. Okay lang, Secretary. Thank you. Same point.
That's actually the same point I'm raising, although I still have questions really on that
Good morning,
point
Senator.
and another point. But I can
Mr. Chairman,
give way first to Senator
Green. From my kabayan to just raise one point.
Sige po.
Secretary Aguirre, no, Sid, I just want to add this to the conversation. No? The intent, no, of our proposal was to ensure conviction. Yun ang intent namin sa bill, no? Doon sa wiretapping bill.
Yes, Senator.
To ensure conviction. Dahil we have been complaining na pagpasok ng ebidensya, either weak o hindi natin nahuli sa window. So, I just wanted to add that to the conversation para you, on the ground, who are better at this, no, can process this and make a technical proposal to your committee. Para we can decide kung suspicion ba talaga o probable cause. But the intent, if we project the trajectory of this, is to ensure conviction. Para wala na tayong bottleneck dun sa prosecution.
In other words, this is being made in order that this evidence, which is not allowed under Republic Act 4200, would be admitted in evidence.
Tuloy-tuloy po.
Opo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Senator Lai.
Senator De Lima is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning again to everyone. As I said, I was supposed to ask on the same point raised by the good chair on the threshold of evidence, because we all know the various types of threshold of evidence. Yung mga binanggit niyo po kanina, proof beyond reasonable doubt, substantial evidence, probable cause, preponderance of evidence, and I think there's also prima facie evidence, correct? And now we're trying to determine here what should be the proper and desirable threshold of evidence.
That's right,
Correct.
Madam
It's
Senator.
not really it's not an easy task, actually. Because, okay, walang problema sa proof beyond reasonable doubt for purposes of conviction pag nasa korte na. Meron din ho ngayon ongoing debate on the required threshold of evidence at the preliminary investigation stage. And I think you guys know that, particularly Senior State Prosecutor FADULLON, Richard, na there is an ongoing debate. Nung nandun pa po ako, ganyan ho ang pinag-iisipan natin o namin. Shall we raise the threshold of probable cause at the level of preliminary investigation? In fact, in the new criminal code that we are proposing, we have submitted a draft new criminal code last Congress, and I intend to refile that this Congress. We are proposing there the elevation or the increase of the present threshold of probable cause to something higher. We're talking here about the preliminary investigation. We're not just talking about the proposed amendments to the anti-wiretapping law. So would you agree? May I know the position of the good Secretary of Justice now as to whether he agrees with that proposal to increase the threshold of probable cause to something higher in between probable cause and proof beyond reasonable doubt. Of course, it cannot be proof beyond reasonable doubt. Baka wala na ho magpa-file ng kaso sa preliminary investigation level pa lang dahil mahihirapan ang pag-prove. But it should be something higher para naman hindi rin naaabuso ang pagpa-file ng kaso na medyo mababa ang threshold o kaya para kasi the way I see it, the assessment of why there is poor performance generally in terms of conviction. Although depende ho kasi sa mga kaso, may mga kaso mataas ang conviction rate, meron din mababa, especially drugs cases. Pag probable cause lang ho kasi, sometimes may tendency kasi na after the preliminary investigation stage, tatamarin na yung mga investigador, tatamarin na yung mga prosecutor na kumuha pa ng more evidence, mag-case build up pa para ma-achieve yung proof beyond reasonable doubt. Right? Pero kung sa PI level pa lang, taasan na natin ng konti, hindi na malayo yung hahabulin na threshold on the proof beyond reasonable doubt for conviction purposes. So may I know your position on that before we tackle anti-wiretapping?
Before you respond, Secretary, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of the billionaire in the House, Senator Manny Pacquiao. Please respond.
Please proceed, Secretary.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Madam Senator De Lima. Actually, I could not yet think of what is that quantum evidence between beyond reasonable doubt and probable cause.
What is higher po? What is higher? Probable cause or prima facie? May I know the answer of Secretary Aguirre? Aguirre, hindi po ito recitation. Miss ko lang yung pagka-professor ko.
Mas mataas pa po ata yung probable cause kaysa rin sa prima facie evidence. Kaya at this moment, I could not yet give my personal opinion about this matter because I've yet to know ano ba itong threshold ng below beyond reasonable doubt but higher than probable cause.
May I ask also, Senior Deputy State Prosecutor FADULLON, what is your stand on the matter? Are you in favor of trying to increase the probable cause threshold to something a little bit higher but less than proof beyond reasonable doubt?
Good morning, Madam Senator. Well, like my boss, Secretary of Justice, we have to weigh things very carefully because if at present the threshold is probable cause, the realities are that our police officers, our law enforcers are having difficulty already trying to reach that quantum of evidence. If we raise the bar, yes, we limit the cases that will be filed, but it makes it more difficult for our law enforcement to be able to deliver and file the cases that they need to file. On the other hand, you are correct, Madam Senator, when you said that by increasing the bar, increasing the threshold now, it would bring it closer to proof beyond reasonable doubt. But then again, when it reaches the court, anything which falls short of proof beyond reasonable doubt will still result to an acquittal. So it's really a matter of trying to balance both where we can make sure that law enforcement will be able to still do their job, not make it difficult for them, but at the same time ensure that we are still able to get the evidence that we need to secure a conviction.
Okay, so if there is no higher threshold than the probable cause that can be thought of, to remedy the situation, well, I think the best remedy, of course, is that both the law enforcers and the prosecutors should really take earnest efforts in doing case build-up of cases when these cases are filed with the courts, correct? It can be either the good secretary or...
Sorry. Actually, I could even go further than that. We should assign prosecutors, as they are doing in the United States, even during the police build-up a case.
Oh, that's you, Secretary Aguirre, because there is another bill that that was filed during the last Congress, and I think I already refiled it, and if I have not refiled it yet, I intend to refile it, the criminal investigation bill, where I think the scenario that you are thinking of is contemplated in that. The criminal investigation bill where both prosecutors and law enforcers would work hand in hand as early as the gathering of evidence, as early as the case build-up stage. So that seems acceptable to you, such a proposition?
Very acceptable to us.
Thank you so much. We'll have another hearing on that. When that bill of mine is taken up in my committee, then I will certainly invite you as a key resource speaker. Thank you very much. Next point. Now let's go, please.
I have a question, clarificatory question, Madam Senator. Kung gano'n ang situation, yung prosecutor is with the law enforcement agent in building up the case, paano siya maging objective pag napunta sa prosecutor's office yung case to establish probable cause prior to the filing of information? So, kasi part siya noong build-up ng evidence, pag build-up ng evidence, baka hindi siya maging objective.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that is addressed actually in my proposed bill, but I don't want to impose on the time of this committee to really discuss it, but may I just assure Senator Lacson that that is actually addressed in my proposed bill. Although if the mechanics that is proposed in that bill is not acceptable or may not pass, maybe at the committee level or at the plenary level, the simple answer to that reservation is that you assign different prosecutors in the case build-up stage, and I used to do that already during my time. Whenever I created task forces, I made sure that prosecutors had those task forces assisted by investigators, most of the time from the NBI and sometimes even from the PNP. Pag may kaso na po, tapos na po yung fact-finding investigation, including the case build-up, at i-file na sa DOJ for preliminary investigation, then pwede naman hong nag-a-assign ng iba ng prosecutors so that the element of objectivity for purposes of determination of probable cause is met or is assured. Yun po ang isang practical solution. Kung yung pinaka-mechanics na pinapropose ko po dyan sa criminal investigation bill ay hindi masusunod.
Wala naman po akong disagreement doon. Alam niyo, share ko lang yung experience namin nung nasa task force sa Bagat ako. We were running after kidnappers. Mas mabuti ngayon because there were prosecutors assigned. I think si Attorney Dong was also detailed. No? Lahat ng huli namin nun talaga kulong. Sa kanila rin namin i-inquest eh.
Correct. Kaya nga po, I truly believe na kapag sa case build-up pa lang, nandyan na yung prosecutor, mas higher ang chance of success. Dahil alam ho ng prosecutors kung anong klaseng ebidensya ang kailangan, kung anong mga ebidensya ang admissible para pumasa po not only at the preliminary investigation stage, but most importantly, at the trial stage. So anyway, we have a time for that, for the criminal investigation bill. So let's go to the wiretapping, or the anti-wiretapping. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not opposing these amendments to the anti-wiretapping law, o kung meron man, meron lang siguro ilang punto ako na pwedeng erase, especially in the course of plenary debates. But let me just state that sa tingin ko po, ganitong mga anti-wiretapping law, ang pinaka-importante po dito is to try to strike a healthy, good balance between two objectives. Any anti-wiretapping law in any jurisdiction would have twofold objectives. One is, of course, successful detection, investigation, prosecution, and perhaps even prevention of criminal, wrongful, or impermissible activity through the interception of relevant information or communications. That is a very legitimate public purpose and therefore constitutionally permissible. Yung isa sa isang banda naman po, yung isang objective, and that is actually implicit, inherent, and always expressed in any anti-wiretapping law, is to enhance the security of persons and property through the protection of private communications from unlawful interception, appropriation, and use, including those that may potentially be scandalous, embarrassing, and discrediting, but having no criminal investigation value or use. Agree po tayo doon? Dalawang purpose po yun. We're trying to strike a balance here. A balance between the two in order to empower law enforcement authorities, but without subjecting the populace to the tyranny of unlawful intrusion into private affairs. Granted ho yan. Wala ho sigurong makaka-dispute yan. So, in trying to craft the necessary amendments to our anti-wiretapping law, importante po, we should always be conscious about striking this healthy balance. Hindi po pwedeng maging one-sided lang ang track natin na in our zeal to really strengthen our law enforcement capabilities ay nakakalimutan ho natin respetuhin ang mga karapatan, especially the rights of privacy, na wala na hong legitimate purpose yung paggamit ng wiretapping na to kung ganun ang kung hindi tama ang paggamit ng batas. Di ho ba? I just want to put it on record that that is my contribution to the discourse on these very important pieces of legislative measures. Kasi sa akin, hindi na mo siguro talaga issue yung mga tungkol sa ito bang anti-wiretapping law natin noon? Ano ba ang comprehended? Ito ba ay tungkol lang sa wire communications? Hindi na mo siguro, di ba? I think this covers also not only wire communications, but even electronic communications. Kasi doon pa lang sa ating Human Security Act na-broaden na ho talaga yung scope ng ating mga anti-wiretapping law. So having said that, ang gusto ko lang hong punto dito, ayaw ko sanang tanungin ito o ayaw ko sana hong erase ito. Kasi syempre, hindi naman siguro pagkakaila. Kasi may mga nagsabi na sa akin, matagal nang natap ang aking mga cellphone. Di ba? So what legitimate purpose is being served? Kung ganun, terrorist ho ba ako? O dahil yung sinasabi ng iba, na-cuddler ako? Yun ho ba ang purpose kung bakit tinatap ang mga cellphones ko ngayon? I don't expect anyone to answer that question. I'm just thinking aloud. So, huwag na ho tayong maglukuhan. Di ba? At mahilig kasi ako manood ng mga detective stories eh.
Do you want to comment?
You want to respond to that?
Yes, Madam Senator.
Your Honor, I am also suspecting that my cell phone is being tapped. So we are in the same boat.
If that is true, assuming, Director General De La Rosa, assuming totoo rin po yan, na nakatap din ang inyong cellphone, sino mo kayang gagawa nun? Kasi yun ang susunod kong itatanong. Granting, itong pinakasuspecha ko, kasi ibang tao lang naman na nagsasabi sa akin na tap na yung cellphones mo, matagal ng tap yan. But my attitude always is, I don't care. Why should I care about that na I don't care. Pwede nilang pakinggan lahat yan, you know. Anyway, I'm not the one violating the law. I'm not the one violating the rights of others. That is always my attitude. Kaya tinatawanan ko lang yung mga ganong advice. Ingat ka, nakatap ang telepono mo. So kayo rin po, Director General De La Rosa, assuming ho, natotoo din yan, na nakatap din ang inyong cellphones. Sino kaya gumagawa niyan?
Your Honor, the technology, we have no control over the technology. Mayroon tayong mga foreigners na mayroong technology na gano'n at wala tayong control over sa kanila. They can monitor our conversation from a faraway place. So,
O, yun ang problema natin ngayon.
yun ang problema natin.
Ang problema natin ngayon, we're trying to improve our laws, our own laws, correct? Ng anti-wiretapping law. Para naman, ma-empower nga kayo, matulungan nga kayo, na mas magiging magaling kayo sa pag-perform ng mga trabaho nyo, but at the same time, we should be conscious about also protecting and upholding the rights of persons, the private rights, the rights to privacy, etc. So, assuming magawa na natin yan, maganda na yung ating mga batas, na-cover na natin yung two objectives na yan, we were able to really strike a very good balance between those two objectives. Pero ang problema pala, any other foreign country can also, can also intercept. But our laws would not cover them, would they, SOJ?
That's right, as of this moment. But may I be allowed to limit or to give an example with respect to the NBP?
Yes, please.
Last July 20, almost all the officers and men guards of the NBP were changed by their SAF troopers. And on July 20 and July 21, we recovered almost 200 cell phones, 1.6 million pesos, drugs, shabu, jammers, boosters, and many other contrabands that are not allowed inside the Bilibid. Now, even after the confiscation, there are several more searches, and that in the first day, the building 14, which we know is the most where the high-profile inmates are housed, there was no cell phone confiscated, despite the confiscation made during the first day. But in the following day, they thought perhaps that the SAF will no longer conduct any search. Nakakuha pa rin po sila ng na nakakuha sila ng 22 pieces of cell phones, etc.
In the building 14?
In Building 14.
Wow. Why is that so?
So,
The building 14 is supposed to be a secure area. Kaya nga po, pina-renovate bago ko po binalik yung Bilibid 19 from NBI detention facility. So why is that happening?
well, nakita po
Again.
namin na talagang napaka-creative itong mga inmates sa Building 14. Yung mga na yung kay Peter ko, nakaukit sa kanyang tsinelas, yung kanyang cellphone, plus yung kanyang charger. Tapos,
And again, okay, I can believe that kasi ganyan naman talaga noon. Walang katapusan na
Senator Lima, can we
pag-confiscate.
just allow Secretary Aguirre to continue the narration?
Okay, thank you.
before
I'm
we
sorry.
interject?
I'm sorry.
so, marami pa rin po nakuha. The following day, mayroon pa rin charges. I don't know how were they able to hide. These are big boosters. Signal boosters. Now, we know for a fact that these are prohibited inside the Bilibid. And we know for a fact that these cell phones are used by these high-profile inmates in order to transact illegal drugs throughout the Philippines. So, is this not a case where wiretapping should be allowed? Because, in the first place, they are not allowed to use these cell phones.
That is a perfectly valid proposition. Now, yun na nga po, nakakalungkot lang na hanggang ngayon, nakakalusot pa rin pala. Wala ho talagang katapusan yan noon eh. Kahit anong klaseng mga regulasyon po ang mga pinapatupad natin noon na talagang strictly no cell phones. Dapat ang policy. And syempre, ang mga ganyan, mga contrabands na yan, hindi pwede yan nakakapasok dyan kung walang kakontsaba na mga prison guards or prison officials. So nakakalungkot, akala ko safe na talaga or secure na yung what is this? Building 14. And going back to the issue and thank you for raising those or for giving that information. Now, I agree that we should consider relaxing the rules or the law on the anti-wiretapping law insofar as convicts are concerned. Because they have no business really having communication gadgets while inside the Bilibid. Now, so I also join the position that we can think of a lesser threshold of evidence when it comes to wiretapping. But nothing so low as to be susceptible so much to abuses or possible excesses on the part of law enforcement authorities. Thank you.
I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Senator Bam Aquino. Welcome, sir. One relevant question before I recognize Senator Sotto. To the question, do you have the capability to wiretap electronic communication? All right, sir.
Right now, sir.
Right now.
None, sir. None, sir.
Anyway, you're under oath. Sige.
None, sir.
So you're not in any way capable of intercepting electronic communication?
No, sir. How I wish we have that capability.
NBI? I'm not saying that you're wiretapping, ano? I'm just asking if you have the capability, if you have the technical capability to wiretap, to intercept electronic communication.
Wala din po, sir.
Wala rin.
Mr. Chair?
Mr.
When many reporters from the broadsheets and from other newspapers were calling me, sabi sa akin, Secretary, mayroon pa rin pong cellphone despite the fact that you were able to confiscate almost 200 pieces of cell phones. Kasi yung aking asset, nakakausap ko pa rin eh. So, that was the reason why I was appealing for the donation of a powerful jammer. Kasi we have several jammers in Muntinlupa na pag ang telephone mo is G3 already or LTE, hindi na kayang i-jam. Kaya we were able to ask saan tayo makakabili ng powerful jammer. Meron pong nakuha tayo na pagtanungan tayo sa Israeli-made worth 10 million pesos. Kaya I appealed to those businessmen who were not able to contribute to the campaign contributions of the President Duterte, o kaya yung contribution nila in reject to make an immediate donation. Kasi pag dinaan natin sa procurement law, matatagalan tayo. So, merong na nga ako, but it has not been, yung pledge niya hindi pa na-realize. So, we made some demonstration from suppliers.
I know there's this equipment that's capable of intercepting and even recording.
Jamming, intercepting, recording,
Yes, everything. That's
And
why
they said that we could demonstrate this.
that's why I don't believe Director General Bato when he said that wala silang capability.
Mr. Chair, may I just share with you a very funny story. Nung time po ni Director Bukayo, as the Bucor Director, may kwento po siya sa akin noon, may sinumbong siya sa akin. As you know, may jammers talaga ang Bucor, di ba? Inside Bilibid. So during the time of Director Bukayo, may jammer. One day, nagsumbong siya, Ma'am, kaya ho pala, pag ako na gumagamit ng cellphone ko, parang it's off. You know, habang nasa office siya, off. Nagtataka siya, bakit off? Yung line niya, yun pala na-discover nila na yung mga jammers na supposedly i-jam kung ano mang communication gadgets dyan ng mga drug convicts na yan, ay binaliktad nila at finocus sa opisina ni Director Bukayo. Ganon sila ka-creative. So kaya ganyan, nagpapalusutan pa rin palagi hanggang ngayon pala. They're so creative because they have criminal minds.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Kasi once na may pasto, Senator Tito, pahiramin kita.
But there is also an easy answer to the question of who is capable of wiretapping. The telcos. Nobody can beat them. They can wiretap anyone. Di ba? Even your text. All the text messages that you send or receive. Yeah. So, we can tap the telcos for the NBP area. Kaya-kaya i-wiretap yun. That's why I fully support the Senate bill of Senator HOnasan, Lacson, and Pacquiao.
Yeah.
The relaxing the anti-wiretapping law.
If you recall the Hello Garci controversy, that's electronic intercept. Cellphone yun eh.
And just finally, Secretary Aguirre, with the records that you showed us or gave us, we double-checked everything. The conviction rate in the last 5 years is 2% in drugs. Thank you.
But we have to
For the information of
we have
everyone.
to note also, but there are some pending cases. So hindi malamang na
Yes, but that is the conviction rate as of now.
as they are the numbers of convictions as of 2016. But it doesn't mean that the
May
pending
pa.
cases
Yes.
are.
Okay.
Chair?
Senator Nancy Binay, and then after Senator Binay, Senator Pacquiao.
Secretary Aguirre, kadugtong lang ho nung tanong ni Senator Sotto. Dun sa 3,482, ilan ho dito yung masasabing drug lord o big fish?
Yun po ang kwan eh. Yun nga ang parang we'll make another report kasi incomplete ang picture dyan eh. Kasi hindi sinasabi dyan dun sa resolution whether the drug case was dismissed or not.
So hindi pa ho pala sure kung yung 3,482 nakakulong na tong mga taong to sa Bilibid.
Perhaps you're talking about different thing. Baka yung 1,469 sinasabi nyo. Ano? She's asking the 3,482 resolved cases in the last 5
Sabi nyo,
years.
meron na kayong total conviction na 3,482. So I assume nakakulong na ho to sa bilibid.
Opo na po, nakakulong na yung mga yan.
And ilan ho dito yung drug lords or big-time pushers?
We'll have to double-check the records, Madam Senator, to find out yung classification po. How many are yung small-time pushers or users and how many are actual drug lords. But there are cases already where the department obtained convictions involving big drug lords also. Like, for example, the one in the Shabu Laboratory in Mandaue, Cebu, and in Lipa, Batangas. No, so there have been several big convictions. Opo.
Kalbintan.
Yes, but just to say, Madam Senator, we will provide you with the breakdown. We will try to check the classifications of the convicts.
Thank you. And then you mentioned din na you filed 126,000 cases. Ano nung status ng mga kaso? Ay, nasa na ho itong mga finailan nyo ng kaso? Lahat ho ba ito nakakulong ngayon sa mga city jail or saan ho sila ngayon?
Most of these
Out on bail?
No, most of these 126 cases are actually detained, Madam Senator. For the information of the good senator, a case would last an average of about 8 years. 8 years.
8 years to get a conviction or dismissal?
8 years, ma'am, yung process ng trial. Ang reality po kasi sa ground is that you have most of the cases that are filed and pending in second-level courts are actually drug cases. Puro ho yung users, pushers. No? And these are the cases which drag on for quite some time. So, sa dami ho nung kaso na yan, ito hong mga tao na to mostly are under detention, preventive detention. Okay? So, ito ho yung karamihan dito ay nililitis pa ho hanggang sa ngayon.
How severe ho yung mga cases sila? Out of, I guess, yung 126,000. And siguro, paano nyo ba kina-classify yung small-time pusher, drug lord?
Well, most of the cases that are filed, ma'am, are the ones which are filed in the city and the provinces. These are cases involving buy-bust operations. Yung mga small-time users, yung mga nahuhuli ho ng nagpe-peddle ng drugs, yung mga nahuhulihan ho na actually gumagamit sa mga small-time dens, no? And those who are actually engaged in small-time selling and use of drugs. This is the vast majority of the numbers that we have.
Mga ilang percent ho sila dun sa 126,000?
Siguro po dito po lalabas po yan, mga 90% po yan. Approximately 90%.
And then 10% lang ho talaga yung mga...
The remaining 10% would be those who are actually engaged in big-time selling, yung mga malakihang distribution ho ng drugs, and then the laboratories that we have.
Meron ho ba tayong big-time drug lords na pending pa rin yung case?
We have cases which have actually been filed recently, Madam Senator. This involves Chinese nationals who were caught in Malabon, arrested in Malabon. This involves a laboratory. No? And then we have also we have a case which was filed sometime in July involving a ship which was found carrying in Subic, no? Some quantity, I think 5 kilos were found in that area. And we have several cases. I cannot give the exact details now, but immediately after the start of the administration of President Duterte, there have been a lot of big cases that have been filed. The most recent one that we have is the one which was caught in Mandaluyong involving yung ecstasy, huge quantities, is party drugs that they call, which is also being handled now by one of our offices in the field po.
Mr. Chairman, baka you can just provide the committee with data.
Yes, Madam Senator.
Tapos, Secretary Reyes, ilan ho ba talaga yung figures natin for drug users? Kasi meron ng 3 million, may 3.7 million. I mean, based on your official data.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Madam Senator. Actually, we have several data sources, Madam Chair. From the computation of the enforcement sector, we have around 3 to 3.7 million Filipino users. Now, based on the survey naman po, Madam Chair, 2015 National Household Survey, we have around 1.8 current users and around 4.3 million lifetime users, Madam Chair.
1.8
1.8 current users, and then yung isa, sir, is 4.3 lifetime users. Ito, sir, yung mga tumikim once in their life.
at tumikim lang ho yung lifetime.
At least nakagamit, ma'am. Apo.
Akala ko yung lifetime yung hindi na kailangan, hindi na marirehabilitate.
Not necessarily drug dependent, that's what you mean.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair.
Siguro baka pwede i-change na yung term kasi pag sinabi niyo ang lifetime, parang ang impression ko, lalo na diba, we got a data na 24% lang yung na-rehabilitate. Baka ito yung...
Probable one-time user.
Yes, sir. Noted, sir. We will change yung terminologies. Baka nga confusing, sir.
And then dun sa data niya na, anong officially nang ginagamit niyo? Yung enforcement or base?
Basically, yung 3.7 million, Madam Chair.
And then out of the 3.7 million hindi naman kasi lahat ng user pusher. So sa pushers naman meron din ba tayong data?
Sa enforcement po, Madam Chair.
Siguro General Bato, may data ba tayo kung ilan yung pushers? Siguro percentage?
Yeah, Your Honor, we are basing our data from the production of the Dead Dangerous Drugs Board. Yung nanggagaling sa kanila, Your Honor.
Parang wala po silang number kung ilan yung pushers. Baka sa PDEA meron?
We have the same data, Your Honor, based on the dangerous drugs board.
Ano yung data?
So basically, ma'am, what we're saying is basically nakamix sila, ma'am.
So pwedeng out of the 3 million, nandun na rin yung
yes, ma'am.
Pushers. Mga ilang percentage out of the users yung
more often
pushers?
than not, ma'am, yung users po kasi, once they get into the habit, they really turn to pushing later on, no? To sustain po yung habit nila. So medyo malaking percentage po ito, Madam Chair, Mr. Chair.
Yung big time pushers, may idea ba tayo kung yung nag-ooperate ba dito, may 100, may 500 ba sila, or may ganong data ba tayo?
Chief Mr. Chairman.
Yung yung available data lang namin tungkol dyan is yung binasihan namin yung current na nag-surrender na umabot na ng 689,906. Out of this 689,000, ang nag-surrender dito na user is 629,563. Tapos yung pusher is 46,028. Yan yung data lang na available sa amin, Your Honor, based dun sa surrenderies ng ating Project Double Barrel.
Mga 20%. Ano?
Ito, sir.
Kung mag-approximation ka, kung mga 20-25%. Therefore, kung there are 3.7 probable drug dependents in the country, 20 to 25% are pushers.
Ito, sir, yung surrender user is 91.25%. Ang user. Ang surrendered pusher is 8.91%.
Mas mababa. Okay.
Mababa.
10%. Sa 3.7, mga 370,000 pushers.
Yes.
Now, the classification, Senator Binay, Mr. Chairman, if I may just be allowed, whether you are a street pusher, you are a mid-level pusher, or a drug pusher, or a drug lord, they are all called drug dealers. No matter what the classification, they are drug dealers. That's the international term. Thank you.
Before I recognize Senator Pacquiao, also on the agenda is Senate Resolution number 19, directing the appropriate Senate committees to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation on the effective drug prevention and intervention for the youth, authored by Senator Bamakino. Also, yung Senate Bill number 8, yung affordable drug rehabilitation treatment, kaya natin inimbita rin yung DOH and the local government executives here present.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Pacquiao.
Sir,
Yes, please.
regarding your earlier question on the UDICTA discharge, we asked our people to do the research. Melvin Udicta, prisoner number 137586-P, was released. The order of release was signed on June 7, 1995 by Penal Superintendent Colonel Prospero Barcenas. That is what we have on our record, sir. 1995, sir. There is no further info as of the moment, sir, but we'll try to look into it.
Pero convicted ito, di ba?
Yes, sir.
Kasi prisoner number.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, please provide the committee the details
Yes, sir.
of the release.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you, sir.
pwede padagdag lang kay Secretary Aguirre kasi na-mention ho na 46,000 yung pushers. Na-file ho ba ng mga kaso itong 46,000?
Andun po. I think it's contained in the statistics which you have just read by Senior State Prosecutor FADULLON.
Yes, Madam Senator, most of these cases involving these pushers or drug dealers have been filed in court po.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you po, Secretary Reyes.
Madam Senator,
Who
if
was,
I...
who was the Secretary of Justice in 1995 when Udicta was released?
The Secretary of Justice then was, if I'm not mistaken, sir, Secretary Gingona. Yes, sir.
Secretary Gingona.
Secretary Gingona, sir.
Sige, please proceed, Secretary.
If I may, Mr. Chair, just to add, to answer the question of Madam Senator Binay, what PDEA has, Mr. Chair, is the data on high-value targets, Mr. Chair. In 2015, they have arrested around 1,822 high-value targets. That's around 9.38% of all those arrested by the enforcement sector, Mr. Chair. And when you talk about high-value targets, Mr. Chair, talks about politicians, law enforcers, member of drug groups and armed groups, government employees, and foreign nationals that were arrested.
Senator Pacquiao is recognized, and after Senator Pacquiao, Senator Bam.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Daming mga speculation, hinala, tamang hinala. Ako po ay nagpasa ng nag-file ng bill ng death penalty for drugs. Hindi po ba natin pwede ma-exempt yung Violation of Dangerous Drugs Act, ma-exempt yung yung mga violators ng drugs sa wiretapping law? Di po natin pwedeng i-exempt na pwede para mas madali silang habulin yung mga, kasi yung mga drug lords natin ngayon, high-tech na rin ginagamit. Baka mas high-tech pa sa ginagamit ng government.
As far as the law enforcement, Your Honor, is concerned, gustong-gusto namin sana, Your Honor, exempted sila. Exempted para make our job easier, Your Honor.
Para sa akin kasi mas madali silang, wala silang lusot kasi hindi na sila pwede ngayon mag-deal ng personal technology na ginagamit nila. So kailangan na katulad ng sinabi ko nga, kailangan ng batas natin may pangil. So anong masasabi nyo?
I think the suggestion of Senator Pacquiao is, even without a court order, kung high-value targets, kung talagang drug dealers, maski walang court order, exempted na sa hindi na exempted na sa RA 4200.
So actually, that should be an additional exceptions to the operation of Republic Act 4200, Mr. Senator. Kaya yung mga inmates, tsaka yung mga those involving committing drug offenses should be allowed to be wiretapped. Yun po ang gusto ninyong mangyari. And I believe supportado po namin kayo doon.
Yung narinig ko kanina na kung kaya pa natin mag-wiretap ng mga electronic, ganito, etc., etc., Eh, sabi nyo, wala. Kahit doon sa yung NBI, tinanong, wala. Ewan ko sa DOJ, wala rin.
Wala po, pero
Wala din.
nakapag-demonstrate na kami.
So, therefore, kung walang marunong mag-wiretap, bakit marami tamang hinana yung mga devices ko na wiretap, bakit? Sinong sisihin natin? We should invite the Telecommunication Commission siguro dahil silang medyo nakakaalam siguro niyan.
Is that a
Mr.
motion?
Chairman.
Is that a motion, Senator Pacquiao?
Mr.
Do
Chairman.
I hear a second?
I think we should invite the Telecommunication Commission to answer that the questions that we raise up here, because even the PNP, they don't know how to wiretap the technology, and yet marami tayong kasi na-wiretap yung ano natin, wiretap, etc. And we're talking about wiretapping. So, marami tayong problema. We should, the government should have advanced technology rather than the private sectors o yung mga civilians lang. Hindi pwede yung pag ang bansa mas high-tech pa yung ginagamit ng mga private, mga civilians na ginagamit nila sa mga illegal na activities, wala tayong magandang gobyerno. Hindi maganda ang pagmali sa bansa natin. So, kailangan hindi lang tayo mag-uusap dito sa problema na ito, kundi bigyan natin ng action, kasi dapat ang government mag-control sa lahat, hindi yung tao mag-control sa government na mas high-tech pa yung mga technology na ginagamit nila.
Tama po yun.
Para sa ngayon ang labanan kasi ngayon technology kung pagandahan o sinong may bagong mga technology na ginagamit, and the government should have that.
Yeah.
Your motion has been seconded by Senator HOnasan, so next hearing, we'll invite the telcos representatives.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ano pong masasabi ninyo doon sa
Actually po, ako po may segunda sa inyo sapagkat nang malaman ko pong walang wiretapping equipment ang NBI at saka police, kaya kami na sa DOJ ang kumukuha ng pang-wiretap. At nagkaroon lang namin ng demonstration, kaya lang hindi kaya ng budget ng DOJ. But nung sabi nung kausap namin, gusto niyo subukan natin sa Bucol? Sinubukan namin. That was only a little over last week. Hindi naman nung umaga, gabi, kasi pag umaga, pag araw, napakaraming cellphone na nakukuha kasi maraming dumadaan. Sa gabi, napansin namin, merong gumagamit ng cellphone sa Building 14. May signal, tapos merong internet. Pag naka-on ng cellphone, kahit saan mo ilagay yan, makukuha nung intercept, nung jammer na yon. So, that particular night, mayroong gumagamit ng cellphone sa Building 14. Nakuha namin, 2 cellphone. That was only a week ago. Kaya talagang very effective yun.
Mr. Secretary, you don't have to give the details, pero may findings ba? May nakuha ba kayo?
May nakuha po kami, 2 cellphone.
That's all I need to know.
may tatanong
With the indulgence of Senator Manny, magkano ho ba yung dinemo sa inyo na equipment?
$6 million.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Baka makayanan niyang senping sa budget deliberation.
May action na po ba kayo sa lahat ng problema na ito? I hope na itong ma-discuss ngayon, bigyan natin ng action, agarang action kaagad, dahil yun nga, sinasabi ko, nung nagtatanong nga, may mga kakilala kasi ako mga government officials din sa ibang bansa, para ma-secure nilang seguridad ng kanilang bansa, talagang inuuna nila yung to discover technology. na hindi sila ma-overpower o hindi yung mga private sectors o civilians o ibang mga tao na hindi sa government magkaroon ng technology higher than the government. Kumbaga, ang ginagawa nila, yung technology nila, talagang advanced kaysa doon sa mga alam ng mga civilians, alam ng mga private sectors. Yun talaga ang lagi nilang ginagawa. Pero dito sa atin na napakinggan, no, na naipon ng mga information, nung tinanong ang PNP, tinanong ang NBI, tinanong ang DOJ, walang capability to wiretap the electronic. Kailangan natin siguro ngayon magkaroon ng advanced technology to counter this illegal terrorist o lalo na sa illegal drug. Illegal drug, yung mga drug lords ngayon, high-tech na yung ginagamit nila. Hindi na sila nakikipag-trade ng illegal drug ng personal, kundi through communication. So, kailangan siguro natin i-advance yan. At yan lang po, Mr. Chairman. Mamaya, tanong ulit ako. Thank you.
Before Senator Bam, I'd like to hear the views or the comments of the local government executives, representatives here. Attorney Edmond, do sa Senate Bill 971, do sa role ng local, ng LGUs sa pagpili ng mga commanders, mga chiefs of police, and also the role of the LGUs do sa rehabilitation, sa treatment. So, you have the floor. Sorry, Bama.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, the distinguished members of these committees. Pasensya na po na una ko because I have to attend the MCLE this afternoon at 1 p.m. Probably I will be more enlightened tungkol po doon sa prima facie tsaka probable cause. Anyway, yung invitation po that we receive, hindi po nakasama yung 971, but I understand that Senate Bill 971 gives the PNP regional directors the authority to choose the provincial directors and the provincial directors the authority to choose the COPs. Kung pwede po mag-file kami ng position paper and I'll make sure that it will be position paper that is independent of the other leagues of local government units. Initially po kasi, considering the purpose of the bill that will level up professionalism in the PNP, ang magbe-benefit po dyan ay yung barangay. Magbe-benefit po ng malaki because as a part of the PNP also playing the role of force multipliers, I think even in the campaign against illegal drugs and in relation to the amendment to the wiretapping law, kailangan po may ebidensya before you go to court. Probably among the witnesses that we can possibly think of are the barangay officials because we can help the law enforcement agencies in that regard. As a matter of fact, in the different barangays nationwide, we have been developing and campaigning against illegal drugs, but this is not applicable to all the barangays at the same level because iba-iba po yung dynamics eh. Meron pong mga degrees of drug dependence and yung effect ng drugs, depende po doon sa barangay. But we are working closely with the DILG. As a matter of fact, nandito po yung sila Director Trovella, si Usec Malacat po. Probably madidinig po natin mamaya regarding yung UBAS, yung UBAS ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan, wherein we are working with the community, the PNP, and the religious sector. Your Honor.
How do you handle the surrenderies that were turned over to the communities by the PNP? Kasi wala silang facilities. Marami ito, 600, we're talking of 600,000 plus. So,
Yes. Sa ngayon po, iba-iba, depende na nga po dun sa barangay, but with the PNP at saka po yung sa DILG, meron pong program, yung tinatawag na Masa Masid, ano? Depende po sa degree of drug dependency, meron pong degree na that require professional attention na po eh. Meron po naman mga degree na po pwede na sa community-based siguro programs ay po pwede po na magkaroon ng reintegration of these drug users doon sa community. So together with the church group po
also with
kasama yan.
DOH, di ba? Dapat meron din coordination sa Department of Health.
Opo, with the Department of Health, siguro makakatulong po yun doon sa mga, yun sa, depende nga po sa degree of drug dependence. And doon po sa rehabilitation nung mga hindi naman ganun kagrabe pa yung drug dependence. We are, I understand, launching the program together with the PNP and the DILG.
Have you formally organized yung community, including DOH, para pag-receive nito mga surrenderies? Meron na bang formal organization along
Chair,
with DOBAS?
Mr. Chair, by law, you are supposed to. Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Councils should be created.
Meron po.
Yes.
Actually, meron pong batak, Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Council. Meron din pong Barangay Peace and Order Council. Yan po mandated by law. Kailan po nung mga nakakaraan, medyo ang ibang barangays ang ginagawa, nagsasubmit lang ng mga pangalan, but yung functionality hindi po nagagawa. So, nagkaroon na po ng program din wherein we are revitalizing the BADAC and the Barangay Peace and Order Council. And kasama na rin po yung UBAS doon sa programa para yung community talagang ma-involve. Not only the different sectors in the community, but especially the religious sector also.
Ano yung programa niyo sa youth? Kasi di ba yung ibang users nasa youth sector eh. Meron din kayong programa for them? Separate ba ito kaysa doon sa mga ibang surrenderies na hindi na youth, Meron din kayong programa, yung segregation?
Wala po sa ngayon na segregation, pero tinitingnan po namin sa lahat na po.
Okay, maybe also hear from the League of Provinces, and also sa League of Cities. Ano position nyo doon sa dalawang issues? Sama na rin yan yung pangatlo, yung kay Senator Bam, yung sa youth, yung resolution niya. So please.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair. As you said in your earlier statement, for Senate Bill number 971, medyo madugo po. I mean, we still have not discussed this, but tomorrow we're going to have a special meeting, and I already asked the staff to include this in our agenda because I think this is a very important issue. Kasi from previous experience working for a former governor, medyo they're a bit sensitive towards the right to choose their PD. So, but we also understand where you're coming from, that there is the need to professionalize the PNP. So, we're going to discuss this tomorrow, and Mr. Chair, we hope to give you an official position paper by next week. And then, as for the anti-drug program, we have in our agenda the anti-drug program, so we invited Secretary Reyes, we have invited DG Lapena, and we have also invited Secretary Ubial to discuss to us, to the governors, what are the programs for the anti-drugs, and especially because the governors want to relate how they can specifically address the drug problem in their respective constituencies. Yes
sa invitation ninyo. Para,
Sige po.
Kasi may role din sila dito doon sa bill ni Senator Sotto.
So,
And we will hold or we will conduct a separate hearing for Bill, Senate Bill 971 para mapag-usapan natin mabuti. In-agenda ko lang ngayon, kahit wala sa notice, dahil sinamantala ko na yung presence ng Chief PNP sa presence ninyo. But we will conduct another hearing specifically for this issue. So, League of Cities, please. Senator Pacquiao.
Mr. Chairman, since we are going to invite the Telecommunication Commission next hearing, we should also invite the telcos, yung telcos para masagot yung mga tanong po natin.
League of
Mr.
Cities.
Chairman.
Mayong butang, Mr. Chair and the Honorable Senator sa lahat po nandito. Regarding Senate Bill number 971, our apologies, we were not informed about this one. And rest assured, under the new leadership of the League of Cities of the Philippines, under Mayor Ed Pamintuan, they are very supportive of all the programs, priorities of the Duterte administration, and also under the leadership of PNP Police Director General Bato. They are very supportive on that. But we will collate all the comments.
That's 2 against 1, at least those present in this hearing.
Yes.
Barangay and city,
Yes,
you're
sir.
in support. Provincial, hindi pa.
As a matter of fact, Your Honor, the League of Cities have already issued a resolution supporting the Duterte administration. And regarding the affordable drug rehabilitation, Your Honor, the League of Cities of the Philippines already have a dialogue with the PhilHealth president, and unfortunately, due to budget constraints and among others, they could not commit. And may I read the portion of the resolution that was passed last June 20. In response to the pressing concern, the League of Cities of the Philippines adopted a resolution last June 17, 2016, urging the Board of Directors of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation to order the inclusion of the first 30 days of drug and alcohol dependency treatment in the PhilHealth benefit package. This is the main concern of the LGUs because they were surprised and unprepared of the high turnout of the surrenderies, Your Honor. They could not accommodate and they do not have enough facilities or how to address on this. The LGUs are very much requesting for your help, Your Honor. This was being talked about by the previous administration and also this new administration, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Attorney Ed, no? Director Angelica, no? Julius. Pareho ho kayong dalawa ho sa inyo attend ng meeting, no? Pwede ho bang isama ninyo sa agenda na masyadong na-concentrate sa kapulisan at kasundaluhan natin? We are giving them a role they are not equipped or prepared to assume. They're just the tip of the spear. Enforcement lang po sila, no? I'm not digressing from the issue at hand, no? Like, yun ang nangyayari ho sa Abu Sayyaf. Namamatayan tayo ng sundalo, no? Ang center ho talaga dito, ang frontline dito is local government. Local government ho talaga, no? Nasa job description, no? Trabaho ng sundalo at pulis na mamatay kung kinakailangan. Halos nasa job description niya, no? At gawin yung nararapat. Pero ang focus ho talaga dyan for basic services, our anti-drug efforts, anti-terrorism, peace and order, the works is local government. So, pwede hong pakiusap lang po, isama ho ninyo sa agenda at kung pwede ho, kung pwede, magsumiti kayo ng rekomendasyon sa ating komite para ma-consolidate ito at ma-define yung role. Nabubugbog ho yung kapulisan natin sa human rights, sa pag-aabuso. Pero actually ho, ginagawa lang nila yung trabaho nila. No? Wala namang inutos na illegal o immoral. No? So, ang focal point niyan, this all converges in local governments. Not only as far as choosing the police director is just a consequence of the major issue, which is consolidating our efforts. Unity of command. The commander really is the local government executive. Barangay, province, or city level. I just wanted to put that on the table, Mr. Chair, para we can put this in perspective. But wag naman bugbog sarado yung kapulisan at kasundaluhan natin. Salamat po.
Senator Bam, okay na, recognize.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman. my questions are on the youth, no? Pero bago yun, I'd just like to jump off on some of these questions that came up from the questions from my colleagues. Tanungin ko lang po yung DOH. I think in the current budget, there's budgeting for drug rehab centers, no? But it's only, if I'm not mistaken, four centers of 500 beds each. Eh di 2,000 lang po yun. That seems to be out of scope with regard to how many surrenderies po na meron tayo. Kung di po ako nagkakamali, 600,000 na po yung surrenderies po natin. I know may 1 billion from the private sector, pero hindi po ba masyadong konti naman po yun? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Senator Pam. But I'd like to inform the body in compliance with the directive that I answered from the orders of Senator Lacson. I complied with that promise that I submitted. I don't know if you received it already in your office. The thing you were...
Sige, Usec, go ahead.
So I complied. Because this has something to do with your question.
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the previous discussion. I guess the question is, ano yung tamang number of beds na dapat meron tayo?
Precisely.
Ano nga po ba yung tamang number of beds na meron dapat tayo for drug rehab?
Sa ngayon po, the records will show that the data those were given were before the surge of this phenomenon.
So ano na po ngayon?
Brought about.
What is your suggestion?
I'd like to give you some vital information.
Sige po.
Because during our initial meeting, the first week of the President Duterte's administration, we had a call from the office of Secretary to the Cabinet, Secretary Basco, and then Secretary of the ILG, Secretary Sueño, and of course our DOH Secretary, which I represent, Secretary Bia, and of course the Dangerous Drugs Board with our newly appointed Chair, Dr. Benji Reyes, and the PDEA, and of course the PNP. Now, we categorize, and as I mentioned in the past previous Senate hearing, the categorization of the different forms of surrenderers. And they were actually the role of, initially, I chaired the first sector, or the first level, which is for rehabilitation. And so, in coordination with the performance in the response of the PNP, there were thousands of, we call them surrenderers, influx actually, which were not expected during the budget hearing of last year.
That's right.
So that was unexpected. So different times calls for different doings. But in response to that, after categorizing the different surrenderers, and with the help of the PNP for their categorization, and it's for their way of identifying the surrenderers. And then the DOH's way is to categorize them if they are occasional users, moderate users, or...
Asik, let me, sorry to cut you, I have more questions kasi, but it's just a simple question. How much should we increase the budget for drug rehab centers in the current budget? Because we're currently deliberating the budget, and alam naman natin na pwede pa naman magbago yan until the law is actually passed. So, meron na po bang figure ang DOH with regard to how many more centers we need to put up?
We will put up additional 4 centers. But this is what I was, for regional centers, but this is what I was about to say.
Yes, second.
There is a donation
to an answer to the call of the President, and this to the military camps. And so, the creation of a mega TRC, Mega Treatment and Rehab Center, one located in Nueva Ecija and Fort Magsaysay. So, there was an immediate response. In fact, the materials came in, and so we immediately drafted the memorandum of agreement and with the meeting in Malacanang, the office of the President with Usec Ong, and the creation of a mega TRC that would house in about 5 to 10,000, the maximum of 10,000 surrenderers.
Asek, this will be under DOH pa rin, no? It won't be under the military.
The management.
Okay.
The role of the military is the utilization of the lot.
Okay. Okay.
And that is a military camp in Fort Magsaysay. That's just one of them. The other one would be, there was a proposal for another military camp in Bohol and another one in Capiz. But for immediate response, the immediate response is the building of a mega TRC, but which is only about temporary, in the sense that because we have to immediately construct the and build up the area, which is presently being done now.
All right. So, in short, Asek, there's plan for 4 more and possibly the mega TRCs.
Yes.
But if you add all of that together, that's roughly about 15,000, no?
And another, Mr. Senator, is the community-based.
Okay.
I'll give you an example, as I've mentioned in the past hearing. Provinces like Cebu and in Metro Manila, there is the community-based, after basing it on the surrenderers, we have the community-based, after the profiling from the PNP, we have the community-based form of rehabilitation. And this would now include all the regional offices, because in every region there is one, a DOH office. So it will be managed in coordination with the local government units.
Okay. Alam mo, Asek, this community-based effort, baka in the end, this might be more cost-effective and more humane, and maybe it might be even mas madali rin yung i-monitor, no? But anyway, the budget season is until December. We usually pass the budget until December. And I would enjoin the DOH to take the opportunity.
Yes.
Ngayon ho na everybody wants to support the war on drugs and the rehabilitation efforts. Maybe more than ever, you could probably pwede ko kayong umasa talaga ng suporta mula sa Senado pagdating sa budget item na to. Because 600,000 surrenderies and then 2,000 beds, it's masyadong malayo, no? Now, 2,000 beds.
So just recently, Mr. Senator, we submitted the budget of 3 billion.
3 billion?
That is for the regular budget hearing which we had yesterday, initiated also with Congressman Lanete.
That's just the DOH po, di ba? But the whole DOH budget?
DOH po. For treatment and rehab lang po. For treatment,
so this is not yet in the net, no? Wala pa po ito doon. Or is it already there? Because ang nakita ko po 4 centers pa lang.
The budget will be proposed for 2017.
Nasa net na.
Opo. Ang sinasabi ko pong itong additional budget, it is for this from the start of this administration of President Duterte up to December.
I see. Okay.
And so and of course I have to inform the Senate about the call which was responded. Senator Binay was there also, Senator Lacson, with the call of the corporate social responsibility thing.
Yes.
And so, San Miguel Corporation, well, without really advertising, gave a donation of 1 billion.
Yeah.
this might initiate, but this will be utilized for initially for included for this year's use budget. And of course, as was mentioned, the initial response will also come from PAGCOR and PCSO.
All right. So, ASEC, in short, the drug rehab facilities of the government, ang metric po niyan, number of heads, di ba?
Yes, yes.
Ang number of heads saka number of beds, pareho lang ba yun? Usually pareho
Yes,
po yun,
yes,
no?
yes.
Okay.
No, but they're outpatients, di ba?
Yeah,
Hindi
these
naman
are the outpatients
So,
po,
2,000 yung admitted.
inpatients.
But there are more.
Yes.
Yung mga
Okay.
outpatients.
Let me-
What's the total number?
Yes, let me jump off on that. Ano po yung total number of individuals that government can provide free rehabilitation to?
I just had a talk with the newly appointed chair of the board. Dr. Reyes, would you like to give
Yeah,
a
go
recent
ahead.
update with your figures?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Senator. Just to give you a better picture, Mr. Chair, if you're talking about 3 to 3.7 million users, according to international statistics, out of that number, we have around 0.6 to 1% na kailangan, sir, na iparehab. So that's around 30,000 to 37,000 persons. Right now, Mr. Chair, ang capacity lang ng rehab natin at most 10,000, no? And we're only housing last year 5,000 plus lang.
Dr. Reyes, let me just ask you again. Yung 0.6, yun lang yung kailangan ni rehab?
According to international statistics, Mr. Chair, 0.6 to 1% ang yung drug dependent talaga. The rest would require outpatient and community-based programs, Mr.
I see.
Chair.
So, okay. So this is, well, it's new to me, no? So, hindi ho lahat ng surrenderies kailangan mag-rehab.
Yes.
Po.
Hindi ho. It's only 0.6%?
0.6 to 1%, Mr. Chair.
So the metric that we're using is let's say 1% of 3 million, di ba? So 30,000. So we need facilities for 30,000 individuals.
At the very least, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so hindi naman ganun kalayo na kung nasaan tayo.
Mr. Senator, what was being mentioned is the institutionalization of residential. Kasi po yung iba, sabi nga po, outpatient, they don't need to stay. They could be treated as outpatient. Yun po, kaya nga po dito, is in coordination with the community after assessment and after evaluation, and in coordination with the cities and municipalities up to the lowest barangay, in coordination. Ito po
Okay.
yung tanawan natin, community-based drug rehabilitation.
Check lang related.
Apo.
Does DOH have the capability sa personal fill-up ninyo to determine who would be outpatient at saka sino yung who will be staying in the or will be housed in the rehabilitation centers?
At the present time, of course, we are increasing our capacity. But because of the surge or an influx of the surrenderers, talagang wala po silang paglalagyan ang base.
Yung personal ninyo na magdi-determine sino yung pauwiin, outpatient, at sino yung mag-stay behind para ma-rehab. I'm referring to the personnel of DOH.
Yes. Meron po. Kaya nga, we have this coordination. Kailangan, not only DOH. Kaya nga, we will be building up and having training and capacity building for LGUs up to the lowest barangay. Yes, because we have our barangay health workers po.
Nataka muna yung plano at present.
Ongoing.
No, capable ba kayo na mag-absorb?
No.
And mag-determine kung sino yung pauwiin? I'm referring to your personnel fill-up at present.
At present po kulang. Hindi pa capable. That is why we will be building up this coordination and this barangay-based together with
may I ask, yung kulang ng kaalaman, kulang ng tao?
both.
Because we have barangay health workers in all barangays, no?
Yes.
So,
But
kulang pa rin yun.
we have to train them with regards to drug rehabilitation.
Yes. Do you need to add more barangay health workers or yung current complement po natin kailangan na ng kaalaman?
We have to add pa.
You also
We
have to add.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, based on the data of the President surrenderers ngayon,
We are proposing, Mr. Chair, at least one per district should have the capability to determine the level of drug dependency, Mr. Chair, and that would be a paramedical person, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Actually, Secretary, one of my bills in the past Congress was one nurse per barangay, no? Maybe this is something you can look into kasi marami po tayong mga nurse rin naghahanap ng trabaho.
Yeah.
I would even say, go deep na talaga. Kasi ngayon, habang, yesterday sa DBCC, Secretary Jokno said they're willing to borrow money, no? To really fulfill all the social services na kailangan. Kumpletuhin natin because as Secretary, as Senator HOnasan had said, just a second, Asek, yung police, we burden them with everything, pero the truth is, lahat ng agencies need to work together for this, di ba? And yung takot natin, pagkatapos mag-surrender, pagkatapos mahuli, babalik rin lang, no? So we need to make sure na, one, prevented, but secondly, is kapag nag-surrender na huli, hindi na babalik. And this might mean, initially, my thought was more facilities, no? But actually, it's more barangay-based type of interventions. No? Is that right, Asek?
Exactly po. In fact, in the last Senate hearing, I mentioned about the 3 pillars. That includes, one is the DOH, the second is the religious, where the UBAs come in, as was mentioned a while ago.
Dito po.
Opo. And then, we have also, again, the TESDA for building up of job initiatives.
Hindi lang TESDA kasi yung DepEd may abot alam program na pagkabit ng mga OSYs.
It's an inter-agency, Senator.
Okay. Sige po.
In response to this.
This was just a small question that turned into a long discussion, no? But let me move on to other things.
No, I have a suggestion. Siguro DDB should take the lead, to integrate all efforts of the, siyempre kasama lang enforcement, but more importantly, yung support mechanism. Yung community, DOH, of course, yung UBAS, and the youth, of course.
In fact, Mr. Chairman, we already prepared an algorithm and a provisional board regulation marrying all these components, including your question earlier, Mr. Chair, yung regarding the minors. It's just that hindi pa po napipirmahan, Mr. Chair, ng mga board members itong aming board regulation. I can submit this to
Kasi
the
hindi naman
committee.
normal times ito eh. Yung fight against illegal drugs, we have not experienced something like this before. So, pagka extraordinary circumstances, kailangan din na extraordinary moves, di ba? Or efforts.
Sige, let me jump off on that, Dr. Reyes. Maybe si Com Earl can also answer, no? Doon po sa 3 million natin na, how do you call it? Drug users, ano nga po ulit yung porsyento ng mga once in a lifetime? Yung sabi niyong lifetime?
It's around 4.3 million, yung
once in their lifetime.
Once in their lifetime.
Okay, so
Tumikim, Mr. Chair.
Tumikim. Okay. Yung nasarapan at naging nahook, ilan po yun?
Basically, Mr. Chair, 0.6 to 1%. Ito yung dependent, naging dependent talaga, Mr. Chair.
0.6, only 0.6 to 1%?
Based on international statistics, UNODC statistics, Mr. Chair.
Pero parang that doesn't... Okay, what is 1% of 4.3 million? 43,000. 43,000 lang talaga yung masasabi nating drug addict talaga.
Yung levels kasi, Mr. Chair, we're only talking about yung extreme drug dependency, yung severe substance use disorder na kailangan talagang iparehab, Mr. Chair. Yung moderate substance use disorder pa rin yan, Mr. Chair,
okay,
but can be provided with outpatient interventions.
Okay, so yung how do you say it? Heavy users is 1%, moderate, yung moderate, delikado pa rin yan, di ba?
Moderate, Mr. Chair, maybe around 2 to 10% ang magre-require ng outpatient programs.
Only 10%. So, 430,000. And the rest?
The rest, Mr. Chair, would be mild substance use disorders, structured community-based programs, Mr. Chair, or yung basic community-based interventions lang, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so you're saying the majority once lang nag-try? Talaga, that's very surprising to me, no, na, okay, I would have expected a higher number, no, but in any case, dun po sa moderate at dun sa yung intense or heavy users, severe, anong porsyento po dun yung youth, no, below the age of 30? Is it high? Is it a low percentage? Asek, would you come, Earl?
So, recognize Asek Saavedra.
Good morning, Senator. Good morning, Mr. Chair. Actually, the data that we use at the National Youth Commission is still based sa data provided po by the Dangerous Drugs Board. But lately, in one of the meetings which we had sa DDB po, shinare naman namin yung nakalagay sa Youth Adult Fertility and Sexuality Study.
Okay.
Bale 2013 data po ito. And for the record, Mr. Chair, Mr. Senator, if I may just cite some of the significant findings, nakalagay dito na the mean age of first drug use is at 17.3 years old. So same ito for males and females. Tapos yung drug use, more prevalent siya among males at 7.1%. Breakdown na po ito, no? Then females at 0.8%. The proportion of youth who ever use drugs doubled from 1994 to 2002. So from 6%, naging 11% po siya. So siguro po ito yung ibang mga kasagutan doon sa mga tanong po na nag-raise niyo.
What is the absolute number of 11%?
Ito po ay base sa survey which they did. So yung respondents po kasi nito aabot po ng 10,000.
No, but pag sabi mong 11% of youth, ano ba yung number natin ngayon ng youth? What is the population?
The population, sir, since the population of the country just turned 104 million, so around 30% po nito. So mga 34 million po yung population ng youth ngayon at present. Po.
Kung 11%, edi 3 million yun. That doesn't match the numbers of DDB.
Yun po yung sa DDB po kasi household survey po yung ginawa nila. At saka yung number of youth drug users na meron sila ay base po yung mga admitted sa mga sa mga rehabilitation centers at saka yung mga nag-undergo ng intervention programs. Yes, sir.
Si YAFS, I'm familiar with YAFS. This is YAFS 4? YAFS 4 na ba to? O YAFS 3?
This is YAFS 4, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Si YAFS 4, 10,000 respondents yan, but was it done in a way na indicative siya of the whole population or just of that 10,000?
Yung 10,000 lang po ito.
Lang. Okay. So hindi siya indicative of the whole
No,
population.
not necessarily. But
So,
we clarified that, Senator, sa kanila kasi gusto rin po namin ma-analyze ito deeply because last time when we had a talk with the Dangerous Drugs Board, sabi namin napaka-significant ng data na ito at kailangan ma-match dahil gagamitin ito sa pagko-conceptualize namin ng Philippine Youth Development Plan at part of which ay yung pagka-come up ng mga safety nets and safeguards to ensure na maka-curb yung vulnerability sa mga young people.
Sige. So if that's not indicative of the whole population, balik ako kay Dr. Reyes, no? Kayo po, malabo kayong extrapolation of the, hindi extrapolation, breakdown of the numbers. Anong porsyento po nung 4.3 million, yung between the age of 0 to 30?
We can get the data, Mr. Chair.
Is it proportionately high than other age ranges, or is it more or less parehas lang sa 31 to 40, 41 to 50?
Well, I was given this statistics, Mr. Chair. For children 10 to 17 years old, ang current users, Mr. Chair, is 5%. Ang 18 to 59 years old, significantly high, Mr. Chair.
18 to?
18 to 59 years old, Mr. Chair.
59?
Yeah.
Masyadong broad yung
broad.
number niyan, no?
We can provide you the data, Mr. Chair. I-calculate namin.
Okay. That would be very interesting, I guess, to the committee, no? Kung ma-breakdown natin sa edad yung usage. Okay, let me ask another question, no? Maybe I can ask si Asik Punzalan again. When I was still in the National Youth Commission in the early 2000s, no, medyo matagal na po, 1 decade ago, yung lumabas po doon na very effective drug prevention sa mga kabataan is having peer counseling groups in the barangays and in the schools. Is that still the same, is that still the best drug prevention program for our young people?
Yes. Opo.
Pareho pa rin.
Mr. Senator, in fact, that was the part of what I mentioned because kagaya din po ng UBAS, community, yung environment, it plays a major role in the success of rehabilitation. And of course, yung pong kasing environment, if it's not conducive to rehabilitation, babalik din sila sa sa dating gawi.
Rehabilitation and prevention, kahit prevention.
Yes. Parang hindi na po sila
pumasok.
Now, giving them also importance at hindi sila, as I've mentioned, ma-stigmatize. Because that's a problem. Sometimes, kapag the person has been identified as a dependent, na ano na sila, na ma-marginalize na sila. So, I think activities and also religious organizations, activities that would be encouraging at bibigyan natin sila ng morals and value formation, that plays a big role in rehabilitation.
Thank you for that, Usec. And again, ngayon po na nakafocus tayo sa laban sa droga, pondohan po natin yan. Because I remember in 2003 or 2004 when I was NYC chairperson, kahit recognized na yun yung best drug prevention program, hindi rin naman namin mapapondohan because it wasn't really the priority at that time. Now that this is the priority, maganda kong pondohan po natin yan. And again, it goes back to our LGUs, no?
Yes.
How we're able to organize, no? And let me jump off to another issue. Meron po kasing calls na i-abolish yung council ng barangay at yung SK, no? May mga nagsasabi na hindi importante. But ngayon po na nasabi nyo rin na itong intervention ng ating mga local officials, napakahalaga sa kabataan, sa ating mga mamamayan na may mga drug issues po. And let me ask si Attorney Abisamis, no? Does the yung liga po ng barangay, na-imagine ba na pwedeng ma-organize yung mga barangay at yung mga SK para talagang makatulong po sa laban na to, not only sa enforcement, alam ko mahalaga po sila sa enforcement, pero even on the prevention and rehabilitation. Ito pong sinasabi po ni Usec, i-convert mo yung mga badak at yung mga barangay councils to really be at the forefront of the fight, providing these services. Is that something that the barangays imagine? Is it something po na bukas sa kanila? Na-imagine po ba nila na pwede nilang i-take on yung role na yon?
As far as the barangays are concerned, we are very much willing to take on that challenge. And that, as a matter of fact, we have been very active already in pursuing towards the accomplishment of those objectives. That is the reason why we have been closely coordinating and communicating, holding meetings with the other agencies concerned. So, gaya po nung nabanggit kanina, for example, yun pong barangay health workers, medyo kulang. As far as statistics are concerned, out of the 42,036 barangays throughout the Philippines, yun pong available data as of December 2015, 185,441 barangay health workers po meron tayo. Total po of the barangay volunteers, including tanods, members of the Lupon Tagapamayapa, pwede po yan, ano, dahil they are considered as peers na talagang sinusunod din naman sa community. Ang total po niyan ay umaabot sa 1,060,994 barangay workers and volunteers. So we can just imagine if we will be able to tap all these barangay officials. I'm very sure that they will contribute a lot in the success of the campaign against illegal drugs.
Right now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, yung concentration po ng ating barangay officials, mas sa enforcement, no? Tumutulong po sa pulis natin na makahuli, maka-identify. Ito pong aspeto na to na minimension po ni Usec Punzalan, creating these community programs for the youth, mga peer counseling, ito po ba'y kaya ng ating mga barangay na gawin?
Kaya po ng barangay yan. At gaya po nung nabanggit ko kanina, no? The barangays have closely coordinated also with the interfaith groups. Hindi lang po ito yung mga Katoliko, lahat po ng religious groups. And I could see and I could feel the enthusiasm of these religious groups in order to help and support the barangays in this campaign. And not only in the operational aspect, but also in the awareness.
Oh, and Attorney, I think I think makatulong rin sa ating anti-drug drive. Kung, again, hindi lang yung PNP yung nakapronta. If it's a multi-sectoral effort, no, may simbahan, may local, may mga organizations, parang we can really see that it's a community effort to fight drugs. Again, a lot of attention on the PNP, but at the end of the day, isang aspeto lang sila dun sa laban. And I think na-mention na rin yan ni General in previous hearings. No? Usec wants to say something.
I would like to take this advantage also. Now, aside from yung community, we have also the recovering drug addicts or drug dependents naka-recover na, and they are good, kumbaga, ambassadors already on their own, based on their experience. They could even, we have the Narcotics Anonymous. Narcotics Anonymous, of course, Ubas can relate with me. They could be the ambassadors of telling the youth, for example, of their experience, and it could be used as and in fact we are using them in part of our seminars. Na they become resource persons, and they could give their experiences and relate to and share their experiences as a form of an incentive or encouragement. Because we could not only do it through health. It has to have a peer support, of course, as I've said, barangay, community, and religious. Kasama po yan morals.
Thank you, Usec. I've run out of time, no? But just very quickly, si Usec Earl, kung gusto nyo pong magsalita rin sa issue ng maybe, how does the NYC look at the SK as maybe a possible partner in preventing drugs in the communities?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking that question. Actually, naging interested po ako sa naging dialogue kanina sapagkat gusto ko rin pong i-share na apart from what NYC is doing right now, meron din po kasi tayong 6 na flagship initiatives mostly funded by the Dangerous Drugs Board. At saka yung naging sistema po kasi namin dito, yung implementation process is through localized approaches, Senator Bam. In fact, nakatarget siya sa 3 thematic areas. Una, demand reduction. Pangalawa, preventive education, focusing on programs, projects, activities, and advocacies. And lastly, yung sa civic awareness. In fact, doon po sa partnership with the barangays and local government units, matagal na rin po naming nilalabi ito on the part of NYC na sana makonsider yung proper implementation ng particular section under Republic Act 9165 on the creation of special drug education centers. Ito po ay para sa mga out-of-school youth and street children in each locality. Ang naging problema po kasi recently, hindi po pinopondohan. Kasi subject po siya sa approval ng local chief executive. And madalas po nilalabi namin na sana kung part ng political will ng local chief executive na mag-come up ng relevant intervention programs for the youth para hindi sila maging vulnerable sa illegal drug use, kasama na rin po ito. We envision the special drug education centers to be a facility and a one-stop hub for development of intervention programs na pwedeng mag-implement nitong mga sinasabi po nating mga approaches para naman masalba natin yung mga kabataan from becoming drug dependents. Yung sa SK na aspect naman po, meron po kasing ide-develop na comprehensive barangay youth development plan. Itong mga SKs, once they sit and assume office, 3 taon po ito. And out of the 3-year plan, meron din pong annual barangay youth investment program. Gusto po kasi namin, and naging commitment po namin kay Secretary Sueno ng DILG, na kung maglalabas po ng guidelines in conceptualizing these blueprints and frameworks for development, kasama po yung mga intervention programs na geared towards drug abuse prevention. So, magandang mekanismo po, Senator, actually. Sana po matulungan din kami ng committee in reminding the League of Cities, Liga ng mga barangays, doon po sa pagpaprioritize ng special drug education centers kasi dapat po na-create na yan since the time na na-approve po yung batas, pero for the record, 2 pa lang po ang special drug education centers na meron to date. Yung isa po hindi pa functional. So nalulungkot kami kasi ito po yung pwedeng maging facility kung saan sasangguni ang ating mga kabataan.
Alright, thank you, Comrade. Just a last question kay Dr. Reyes. And this one is information that I wish to take in my committee, sa Committee on Education. Do you already have any information on how accessible illegal drugs are in our public schools and SUCs?
I think the enforcement sector,
Enforcement
Mr.
side.
Chair, would be in a better position to address that.
Maybe I can ask si General De La Rosa. General, gaano po how accessible, how prevalent are illegal drugs sa ating mga eskwelahan? K-12 tsaka SUCs and private schools. May data na po ba tayo dyan?
So far, wala pa.
Wala pa. But I remember, sabi ko niyo before, parang 94% po ata ng barangay
Yes, Your Honor.
accessible. Okay, maybe we'll tackle this lang in a separate hearing sa Committee on Education.
Yes, Your
But if we could also get some information, gaano po ka-available ang drugs sa ating mga eskwelahan? Ito ba'y mahanap mo sa loob? Ito ba'y mahanap mo sa labas? Or ano po sila? Lumalayo ba sila sa mga eskwelahan? Ang alam ko kasi sa ibang schools, very accessible po siya, and it's something we'd like to take up sa Committee on Education. Baka po you can provide na lang kung may data na po kayo.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry for the lengthy
It's
questions.
okay,
Thank you.
it's okay. Very educational, very informative. Anyway, before I ask UBAS, kasi very scant yung information namin about UBAS, bago po ba ito? Sa, How long have you been existing ba? Secretary Jesse ito.
Yes po.
Yeah.
Nagsimula po Secretary Jess
Bigyan
Robredo.
lang kami ng konting background.
Okay po.
Pardon the ignorance.
Your Honors, the ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan is a tripartite partnership among the church, the DILG, and then the barangay, represented here by our legal president, Attorney Abisamis. It started during the tenure of Secretary Jess, ng secretary namin po siya. Ang intention niya i-engage ang simbahan, it's an interfaith, hindi lang po Catholic Church. Ang nangyari lang that time is that nasimulan po ito ng Catholic Church, pero nag-evolve ang ugnayan, naging interfaith na po siya. So, na-engage natin, ang kakaiba dito sa ugnayan is that na-engage natin ang simbahan in good governance. Meaning, sa mga social issues, na-engage po natin sila, particularly on social protection, etc. etc. So ngayon po, with the trust of the Duterte administration on the fight against illegal drug, i-engage po ang ugnayan ng barangay at simbahan dun sa yung partnership nila on the fight against illegal drug.
Yeah, pero mukhang may disconnect yung Catholic Church sa effort ng PNP, di ba? Dahil may mga apprehension sila as openly expressed during in their pronouncements, di ba? So how would you close the gap between the law enforcement sector and the religious sector?
In fact, Mr. Chairman, many of the archbishops are calling in to give their support to the program against drugs. In fact, there was no mention about extrajudicial killings, but they are opening their churches, chapels all over the country for community-based rehabilitation program. From Davao, Zamboanga, and all over the Visayas and Luzon, the archbishops are so much concerned. So the Ugnaya now is getting stronger and stronger. That's why before the end of the month, the program of Masa Masid, which is an interagency program, mamamayan ayaw sa anomalya, mamamayan ayaw sa illegal na droga, Masa Masid, will be launched. And these are composed of the different barangay organizations, BBIs, barangay-based institutions, the UBAS, lead agency, the ADACs or the anti-drug councils, the BPOCs or the barangay peace and order councils, and the rest of the other NGOs and CSOs operating in the barangays are all involved. In fact, we will try to simulate the way when the surrenderers come into view in a particular barangay, there will be a simulation because there will be a PNP station there will be a health station, there will be where the surrenderers will go in the process. So the law will take care.
Roscoe, no? I ask permission from the chairman. Are you itong ugnayan with the Catholic Church only?
No. Interfaith. This is interfaith. The Catholic Church is only playing a very crucial role because it is only the church, the Catholic Church. This is being, the structure is so wide. It reaches down to the chapel level in the barangays. So they have
Have there been dialogues already between the law enforcement sector and the religious sector?
Yes.
Nakailan na kayo?
In fact, in our
Kasi pa yung nababasa natin inakita natin sa media, parang medyo may antagonism. So I want to find out if there have been dialogues held already, at least involving the PNP and the religious sector, or
I will give the example of Cebu Region 7, Mr. Chairman. The Archbishop, the PNP Director, the PDEA Director, all the other members of the communities were all together helping out, plotting out strategies and programs to eliminate drugs. In fact, the Sambuanga group is already calling for it.
Sorry to keep on interrupting. No? Does this include our Muslim?
Bishop Ulamas are involved. So all quarters, all religious sectors are getting in. Even the Pentecostalists, they're in also. Everybody is in. And the family, that's why the community-based program will always involve the families. Per record, all those who are using drugs, 90% of them come from dysfunctional families. That's why the families now are being utilized. There will be no successful drug program if families are not involved.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, alam mo, hearing all the statements or the comments of the resource persons, parang ang daling labanan yung illegal drugs. If only we can transform ito mga sinabi natin dito into concrete action, I don't see how we will not succeed. But very quickly lang ito, para matapos na ma-dispose ko nitong sa subpoena power. Tanungin ko lang kaya kung tawag ito si Noel.
May I recognize?
Yes. Very quickly lang,
okay.
Ano lang, siguro 1 minute. What do you need a subpoena power for?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
the other senators. Good afternoon. I am the director for CIDG PNP, Mr. Chair. And personally, upon assumption of the office, I tried to see some problems on CIDG having no subpoena power. The very reason, Mr. Chair, is that we really need to investigate higher than those street-level investigations. And in the conduct of investigation, we have to tap some agencies into documentary requirements. So, having said so that we need documentary requirements, the use of subpoena power is very necessary, Mr. Chair, so as we can compel submission of documents and attendance of persons whenever need be. That's, I suppose, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Kaya nga nung binigyan mo ako ng assignment, pinal ko agad yung bill eh. I'd like to hear the legal opinion of DOJ on this matter.
With respect to the subpoena power of CIDG, this matter has been thrown to the DOJ and we made an opinion. Initially, our findings that the CIDG has no subpoena power because it was expressly taken. But I told our Chief State Counsel to further review if we have missed something. Because during the Mamasapan massacre, CIDG has been issuing subpoena left and right to more than 100 individuals, and they complied with the subpoena.
But that's without basis in law. they kept on issuing.
That's why I wanted to have a second look in the initial opinion of our Chief State's Counsel.
So just await the submission of your opinion.
Next week it will be finished.
Thank you. Anyway, that's all I want to hear. Wala naman kayong strong opposition.
We have done. That's why I wanted it reviewed, because we have missed something that impliedly, since it's their practice, it has been practiced that the CIDG could have some power to issue subpoena.
Kasi yung lumang CIS, during the PCINP days, talaga may subpoena power yung CIS commanding general or commanding officer.
Tapos it was expressly taken out. So ang interpretation is that since it was taken out, then your subpoena powers will been taken out also.
Yes, of course. Kaya lang baka na-overlook doon sa nung kinraft yung 6975. Baka nakalimutan kasi iba na yung pangalan. Nawala yung CIS. Baka hindi lang na-include.
Pwede, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sige.
Pwede po talagang that's why I have it reviewed. But next week we'll be coming out with a definitive opinion on this matter.
Kasi yung mandate nila, yung functions nila, hindi naman nagbago eh. Nawala lang yung subpoena power, yung authority to issue subpoena.
Mr. Chair, if may I add, Mr. Chair. The RA 6975, Mr. Chair, is for the reorganization of the Philippine National Police. It tackles mainly on the organization. So I believe the provisions on the CIS law is so different. The mandate was still there. And looking at the intent of the Congress during that time, they are after the organization, Mr. Chair, not on the functions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Lumuhod ka na lang kay Secretary Aguirre para anyway, next week sasabihin.
May sulat na pa ako.
I am inclined to rule in favor of CIDG, but I would like to be based on law.
Thank you very much. Senator Pacquiao.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the DOJ,
Mr. Senator,
we want to know the update of the case of Marcelino, Colonel Marcelino. Yung naulihan ng 64 kilos na, tama po ba ako, 64 kilos na illegal drugs?
Mr. Senator. Actually, nag-issue po itong inyong abang lingkod ng resolution ng order freezing all so-called, in quotation mark, midnight resolutions. Isa po ito. Those are the resolutions issued by my predecessor from May 1st to June 30. Kaya sako po itong kay Mr. Marcelino ito.
Nasaan po ba siya? Nakakulong ba siya o
nakalabas na po? Out po, pati yung kasamahan niyang Chinese. So, yun ang maraming...
Yun pong kasama niya, yung Chinese, ano pong update doon? Nasaan po siya?
Out din po. Kasama ang pinakawalan ni Mr. Marcelino.
Senator Pacquiao, of course, hindi pa nag-set in yung double jeopardy, di ba? Kasi PI pa lang ito eh.
Hindi po.
Okay, so it can be refiled. The case can be refiled.
Actually, we are going to review it pa.
Okay.
Hindi ko lang ma-review because wala pa akong...
I just want to clarify,
Usec.
ilang kilo pong illegal drugs na nahuli sa kanya? 64 kilos? Tama po ba?
Alam ko, talagang malaki.
64 kilos? Paano nakalabas yun?
Nire-review po namin to. You can be sure, Mr. Senator, that we are going to review it very
Kasi isa yan sa mga... I'm sure halos lahat ng mga kababayan natin alam yung balita na yun kasi pinalabas yun sa lahat ng TV station. No, tapos malalaman nila na nasa labas nakalayo biro mo 64 kilos na illegal drugs. Nasa Malaya. Ano bang action ang gagawin natin doon?
Marami pong nagtataka. Actually, it's one of the cases that prompted me to issue the department order freezing all further actions on these so-called midnight resolutions. Lumalabas na it's less than 30. Kaya po inihintay ko lang yung, kasi kinakailangan ko sa review yung aking mga Usec. Unfortunately, up to this time, wala pa akong Usec kahit isa.
Opo.
So, si Usec Balme sa katabi ko, hindi ko malaman kung presumptuous o presumptive Usec.
Presumptive. Tinanong ko po kasi yon dahil may mga nahulihan ng droga na maliit lang o illegal drugs, maliit lang pero hindi sila nakakalabas. Nakuha po niyo yung point ko? Yung mga maliliit na tao na nahulihan ng droga na pupunti lang, hindi sila nakakalabas. Bakit itong we're talking about kilos 64 kilos illegal drugs tapos malaya, no? Sa akin parang hindi makatarungan eh. Ang batas natin parang may favoritism dahil ba pag mahirap yung tao kahit na kulong tapos itong mayaman kahit na karaming illegal drugs na nahuli kailangan siguro natin katulad ng sinabi ko ang batas natin kailangan ng may pangil. Mapamayaman man o mapahirap man kailangan makita ng tao na pantay-pantay ang batas natin. Mabigyan ng kasi kahit na hindi natin sabihin, I'm sorry for telling you this, but kahit hindi natin sabihin sa mga mamayan, nasa isipan nila yan, nasa utak nila, nasa puso at isipan nila yan yung tanong na yan, itong itinanong ko sa inyo, bakit yung malalaking tao, yung 64 kilos, we're talking about kilos or 64 kilos of illegal drugs, tapos nasa labas ng kulungan. Tapos, yung grams lang yung huli ng mga mahihirap na tao, hindi nakalabas, hindi nakakalain, nasa kulungan pa rin. Hanggang sa matapos yung investigation, hanggang yung matapos yung kaso nila. But itong lalong-lalo na, this is kernel, right? Kernel ito. Kernel ito. Dapat, ito yung magiging halimbawa natin gagawin sa gobyerno na kahit kernel ka, hindi ka pwedeng malaya dahil ang nahuling illegal drugs sa iyo ay 64 kilos, hindi ito biro.
We fully appreciate your concern, Mr. Senator. As a matter of fact, this is one of the cases I said why I issued that department order freezing all actions because we would want to review the same. Ngayon, siguro by this week or next week, baka may issue na po yung appointment ng aking mga Usec and we'll be able to review it. Now, if I may be allowed, with respect to the same, because I'll be...
ang maging tendency po kasi niyan, pag hindi na-aksyonan kaagad yung problema na yan, hanggang may mangyari naman na gano'n, hanggang magkadubli-dubli, hanggang magkapatong-patong lalong dadami yung problema sa ating bansa, sa ating gobyerno, hanggat hindi na natin maresolba.
Tama po yun. And tungkol po dyan, with the permission of the chair, because I'll be, in a few moments, I'll be asking to be able to leave. May I just say that in that connection, here are the challenges being faced by the prosecution service of our country, DOJ in particular. Number one is that many cases, drug cases, are dismissed because of the violation in the chain of custody in dangerous drugs, compliance with the provision of Section 21 of Republic Act number 9165, as amended by Republic Act number 10640. If I remember right, this is one of the defenses raised by Mr. Marcelino. Number two, irregularity and the arrest and issues on the validity of the seizure of the illegal drugs. This is also, I think, one of the issues raised in that Marcelino case. Number three, legal issues on the search warrants. This is also, I think, one of the issues raised in that Marcelino case.
What I believe is, kahit na walang search warrant, o basta may nakuha kang illegal drugs in your possession, siguro hindi na kailangan yung search warrant na yan. Kasi yung search warrant naman, apply yan pagka i-search mo yung mga bahay o in-place. Pag ito nasa posisyon niya, na actual mo, hindi siguro kailangan na...
Opo, tama po yun. But in this particular case, hindi lang walang search warrant, may search warrant pa. Kaya lang kini-question lang yung legality, which is, I believe, well, that's the prerogative of the right of the accused. Number 4, the lack of common templates and procedure in the conduct of drug operations. Of course, ang lead agency dito is PDEA, but in some cases, in this case, it's PDEA, but in some cases, hindi nasusunod dun sa ibang mga police agencies, katulad ng PNP and ng ating NBI. And number 5, yung ninja cops which came from the drug evidence. Yung pong nagre-recycle ng mga drugs, yan po ang isa sa mga problema namin. Ngayon, during trial, that was during the police investigation. During trial, ang isa sa mga causes na di-dismiss sa mga cases natin is the failure to testify intentionally or unintentionally of the police officers. B, a lack of proper custodian of the drug seized. Kaya po wala tayong dito nagkakaroon ng pilferage, dito nagkakaroon recycling. Dapat talagang may magandang lagayan yung ating mga evidence gathering. Number 3, yung lack of translators. Minsan, yung mga in-check, walang translators. Yung minsan naman, kung nakakaintindi naman sila ng English-Tagalog, pero sasabihin ng mga Chinese na hindi sila nakakaintindi. So, kinakailangan talaga natin ng translators. Yung kulang tayo sa logistics.
May itanong ko lang po, yung kasama niyang in-check nandito po ba sa Pilipinas o nasa ibang bansa na?
Well, he was released, so unless there are other cases filed against him, I really don't know what happened to that Chinese companion.
Kasi dito sa ating jurisdiction siya na gumawa ng krimen eh.
Opo, dapat
dapat hindi natin hayaan na makabalik muna sa kanyang bansa na hindi mo niya na harap yung problema niya rito sa ating bansa.
Mr. Senator, if I may, we will look into the status of the Chinese companion through the records of the Bureau of Immigrations, and once we have it, we will submit it to the committee.
Okay, thank you. At
and I have one more.
Okay.
This is with respect to one problems of the DPOJ, yung mga corrupt prosecutors and judges. And of course, the big time drug lords na they have all the monies, the arms, and of course the influence. Yan po mga problema natin.
I just want to clarify, yung nahulihan si Colonel Marcelino at saka yung kasama niya mga, hindi ko alam kung anong yung mga, sino ang pangalan ng mga in-check na yun. Ito ba ay before Duterte's administration? Opo, tama pa? Okay. Kaya nang pala, kung nagkataon sa kay Bato, hindi, walang takas yun. Nagkataon sa Duterte's administration. Kaya, yung mga bagay niyan, dapat natin i-correct. Siguro, alam natin yan eh. Common sense lang yan. Pag ganyan mga importanteng mga bagay problema, we will not tolerate it. Kailangan na bago sila makalaya o kailangan dadaan sa matinding proseso ang ating gobyerno. Kaya yung sinasabi yung pangil ng ating batas, ng ating pamamahala, common sense lang yung kailangan natin.
Makakaasa po kayo, Senator, na walang selective justice kung talagang pag-aaral namin yan kay Marcelino case na yan.
Kasi
makakaasa kayong...
Kaya ko po tanong dahil iniisip, halimbawa, nilalagay ko yung sarili ko sa mga mamahirap na tao. Halimbawa, nahulihan yung mga mahirap na tao ng ilang, hindi kilos ang pinag-usapan, kundi grams lang. Hindi sila nakakalaya, hindi sila nakakalabas. Pero itong nahulihan na ito pang nagpapatupad ng batas, no? Kernel eh. Tapos kilos ang pinag-uusapan, tapos nakakalaya. So ang isipin ko ay yung batas pala para lang sa mga sa mga mahihirap. Kasi yung batas hindi po applicable doon sa mga mayayaman kasi nakakalaya sila eh. Kailangan, in this administration, ipakita natin na ang batas walang kinikilingan, walang pinipili, mahirap man o mayaman, disiplinahin natin yung lumalabag sa batas. At yan ang goal natin. Kasi kung itolerate natin yung mga bagay na yan, itong problema na ito, ay kahit na ilang administrasyon pa ang lumipas, ang susunod, o mamahala dito, mamuno, walang mangyayari sa ating bansa. Yan na. Maraming salamat po. At sunod kong tanong doon sa PDEA naman, sa PDEA. Nung last hearing, naitanong ko po sa inyo yung mga intelligence natin, yung mga forces natin, yung mga intelligence natin na nagbibigay ng information. Sinabi nyo na marami, at alam ko na marami sa kanila ay involved sa illegal na droga. Mayroon na po ba kayong na-aresto o nakasuhan na mga intelligence niyo, asset niyo na tinatawag at nakakulong? Ilan na po sila?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have PDEA personnel that have been investigated or being investigated at present. The figure, I don't have it for the moment, but I have talked with the regional director of our regional office 12 last week after the hearing, and I conferred with him personally on the status of these assets or agents that are breaking the regulations in Region 12. And I even asked him to see you, Your Honor, para doon sa information.
Wala pa po tayong na-aresto o nakulong na mga assets na ginagamit ng PDEA na na-involve sa droga?
None yet, Your Honor, but we have dismissed already some personnel who have misbehaved or have violated the rules and regulations, Your Honor.
Bilang alam ko bago ka pa lang dyan sa posisyon mo, ay I'm hoping na sa iyong termino dyan sa posisyon mo, maaksyonan itong mga problema na to dahil kahit saan tayo mag-ikot, police, PDEA, mas marami sa intel ng PDEA involved sa droga. Yan, maging aware tayo dyan. Maging aware tayo, hindi natin pwede ipikit yung mga mata natin dahil sila mismo malayang magtulak ng droga dahil sila ay may intel sila eh. So marami ako at saka marami akong kakilala niyan. No, marami akong mga kilala niyan na naging tao ko. Marami akong kakilala niyan kung anong mga proseso, anong mga ginagawa. So ini-raise up ko lang tong question na to para maging aware kayo at ma-actionan niyo itong problema na ito.
Yes, Your Honor. In fact, last hearing, even while we were immediately after we have talked about this, I have instructed my staff to see your staff to get the names or these informations. Unfortunately, we were not able to get names. But if you have these names, Your Honor, you can help very much by furnishing us the names as I have requested last time. And yung mga asset na sinasabi ninyo, this may be some people who use the name of PDEA even without us knowing. So that's why we made a publication, Your Honor. In fact, this was even published. We even used the media para ipaalam na may mga tao na gumagamit ng PDEA sa kanilang pag-ikot-ikot.
May mga ID sila eh. Yung iba may mga ID sila.
Yes, Your Honor, that's true. In fact, may mga ano pa nga yung forged That's why we made a press release on that, Your Honor. As a mission, after the hearing last time, we made a press release on that aspect, Your Honor. Para malaman ng mga tao na kung may mga ID na pinapakita, kung asset, we are not issuing ID to assets, Your Honor. Ito yung mga, yung scrupulous.
May I know the budget of intelligence? Yung budget ng intelligence fund nyo?
We have, for the annual budget, Your Honor, is 73 million.
73 million. Magkano napupunta doon sa intel ninyo? Naka-allocate? Sa the whole 73 million?
Yeah. The of the total budget, Your Honor, of 1.2 billion, 66% of this, or 809 million, goes to personnel services, and then 28% of this, or 341 million, goes to MOE. This includes intelligence, Your Honor, and then ang intelligence and confidential fund is 73.6 million, Your Honor.
So kailangan pa ba i-increase yan o hindi na?
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor, we really need to increase this because with the directive of the President to double or triple our effort, then we need also to support such effort, double, triple also the funding, Your Honor.
We don't have a problem here to increase the budget, your budget, or in agency's budget, as long they perform well in their duties. Ma-resolve ba ang problema sa ating bansa? Walang problema yan. Walang problema na i-approve namin yung budget ninyo basta tityakin nyo lang na ma-resolve ba ang mga problema natin dito sa ating bansa.
Yes, Honor. Modesty aside, the PDEA and PNP, for the first two months, the accomplishment of PDEA and PNP is practically more than the accomplishment of the whole year of 2015, and the first semester of this year, Your Honor. Combined, Your Honor.
I believe you. And then we raise this question because gusto namin maging aware kayo sa mga problema dahil alam ko bago lang kayo, wala pa kayong 1 o 6 na buwan dyan sa posisyon ninyo. So malaki ang expectation namin sa inyo. Lahat ng mga na-appoint ni Presidente, malaki ang expectation namin sa inyo na ma-resolve natin ang problema. Or else, sabi ko nga kay Presidente, hindi na ako tatakbo sa pagkatapos ng 6 na taon kung walang pagbabago ang ating bansa. Useless na ang anong...
That a threat, Sento Pacquiao?
Mr. Chairman, sinabi ko, that's my commitment to our country na to serve honestly to the people, ipaglaban natin yung tama at disiplinahin natin dapat ang disiplinahin. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chairman.
We also believe you, Senator Pacquiao. Ano lang, gusto ko lang i-acknowledge si Mayor Marie Gingona. She's the Vice President for Mindanao ng League of Cities. Andyan sa sana. Yeah, good to see you, Mayor. May quick question lang ako kay John De La Rosa. Ano status ng Ninja Cups ngayon? Meron ba tayong legal offensive against them?
Yes, sir. Some of them, sir, are... most of them, sir, are... for the legal offensive, CIDG and IAS are continuing their efforts sa legal offensive. But administratively, sir, we have thrown them out to other regions in order to disrupt their operations. So most of them are now in
the meantime.
Sulu.
They're undergoing investigation.
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, that they have been transferred out of their former
units.
AORs.
Yes, sir.
Ilan ba ito? Identified ba lahat ito?
Identified, sir.
Everybody accounted for? At least by name?
By name, sir. Hindi pa lahat, sir, nakukuha na yung pangalan kasi may sumisibol ng mga pangalan, sir. Itong natatanggal ito ngayong identified na ninja cops, meron ng dandahan na nag-assume sa kanilang previous illegal transaction. So, dandahan,
So
sir.
far, you want to identify how many are they?
250 na po.
250.
Kasama yung ninja ba yun?
Na more or less pati yung mga
Sir, for NCRPO only, sir, 250 personnel na, sir. But yung sinasabi natin na ninja talaga, sir, na identified is around
100 sa amin NCR. Yung tinanggal
80, sir. 80, but performing ninja operations, other policemen performing ninja operations, 250 na, sir, sa NCRPO pa lang.
And most of them came from the Manila Police Department.
Most of them QCPD.
Wala sa Manila. Kasi
There are some from Manila, sir.
alam ni na General Ubusan ito, no?
Yes, sir.
May nag-ooperate pa rin hanggang ngayon, di ba? And you're investigating this, di ba? In the city of Manila, meron pa rin gumagalang mga ninja. Unfortunately, there are no complainants. We only receive information. Hindi nag-formalize ng complaint. But there were victims, no? At least 8 of them. Ang operation, alam ninja operation. No, extortion. Even resorting to kidnapping. Parang kidnapping for ransom na. So, anyway, this is your part of your problem, ano? So, another question before I give the floor to Senator HOnasan. As of now, as we speak, as we talk, as we are conducting this hearing, ilan na yung patay? This question has become boring, ano? Pero ilan na yung napatay sa police operation, ilan na yung napatay yung DUI, ilan na yung arrested, ilan na yung surrendered, ano lang, ma-update lang kami. Ilan din yung wounded sa kakiya sa police?
Sir, as of August 31, sir, yung killed during police operations si 929 na, sir. 929.
General De La Rosa.
Yes, sir.
Last hearing, sabi natin ilan yung body count, no? Kasama sa police, wounded, kaya pinasama din namin yung civilians na hindi police o hindi suspect, pati yung destruction to property, kotse, bahay, may ganun ba tayong data? Anyway, don't let me disrupt your concentration. No?
Yes, sir.
Pwede ba nating isama yon para may comprehensive na approach tayo sa protection of life, liberty, and property?
Pwede, sir.
Yun ang sinasabi ko. Para pagharap ninyo sa sambayanan, kompleto tayo ng information. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Please continue.
We will do that, sir. DUI.
This is as of 12 midnight of August 31.
Yes, sir. DUI. So, for DUI, sir, date under investigation is 1,521, sir. 1,051, sir. 1,051. For DUI, sir. So, arrested, sir, is 13,386. Surrendered, sir, is 675,700 591.
Sa mga operatives natin, so far, ilan na yung KIA, ilan yung WIA?
Eight, sir, 8.
Hindi, 9 na last time eh. 9 and 18 last time. Nabuhay yung isa.
Yung report, kinorek ng Region 1 yung report, sir, because the other one was a suspect, sir.
Kinurek daw, sir, ng Region 1. Yung 9 na report namin previously, sir, 8 na pala, sir, dahil yung pang 9, sir, police din siya, sir, pero suspect. Hindi siya yung namatay sa, hindi siya...
Baka nabigyan ng medalya yun.
Ay, hindi, sir, hindi, sir.
Nagkamali eh.
Hindi, sir. Suspect pala, sir, hindi siya raiding elements, raiding operating elements.
Okay, WIA, same number?
The same?
18.
Yes, sir, the same, sir, the same.
Sige, Senator. Mr.
Thank you.
Secretary Aguirre, I know you're in a hurry, but three quick questions. May balita ba kayo kung kailan yung LEDAC or JELAC? Yung LEDAC, yung legislative, executive.
Wala pa po akong balita kung kailan ikukumbin.
Tinanong ko yun dahil we're talking here of national priorities.
Opo.
If this is the main effort, it will involve for most part budget. So we just want to clarify that para habang may time tayo, we can start looking at this on the basis of national priorities, which will be an output of the LEDAC.
Opo.
Second po, sa gitna ho nitong mga ingay ngayon, yung National Penitentiary. Okay. Last hearing ho, sinabi namin kay OIC Ronnie, kung pwedeng bigyan yung committee natin ng data about how many raids we have conducted and what were the outcomes. Para malaman natin, dahil ginagawang issue ngayon yung parang walang ginawa cumulatively, during previous administrations. No? Ang issue ho talaga is, actually, hindi ako naging philosopher rito. No? When we are presented with decisions, options, do this or do that, doing nothing is actually an option. So the question really is, how much did you do? No? During your watch, did you do enough? That could have prevented this cumulative effect we are facing now. Di ba liho? This can be a subsequent submission to your committee. Last point po is, could you please give your committee an update on this plan to relocate the National Penitentiary? So that we can set it up. Hindi ho ba yan ang ibig sabihin ng institutionalizing our responses to this, no? So that whoever is president, whoever is SOJ, whoever is CPNP, tuloy-tuloy ito yung mga programa natin.
That's correct, Mr. Senator. Actually, yung proposed new penitentiary, National Penitentiary, to be located at Nueva Ecija, is we are supposed to open the bid on November 25. But there are some very serious, vehement objections on the cost, in the initial cost of more than 50 billion. They said that it is better to spend the money by making additional buildings in the NBP, the present NBP, because there's still sufficient land area there of more than 300 hectares. The others, they say, is that it's better to build and less costly if we are going to build some penitentiary buildings for these inmates in the 6 penal farms in Mindoro, in Palawan, in Davao, as well as in the correctional. So, and they said that we would not be spending this much. Even the Secretary of Finance, Secretary Dominguez, said that where are we going to get the more than $1 billion that we are going to spend in Nueva Ecija? So I think there's now a strong move to further postpone the opening of the bids, which could be preparatory to scrapping the project because it's so overpriced. in 20 years, we're going to spend around 150 billion pesos.
Nagugulat ho kasi tayo dahil yung command and control is inside a national penitentiary. That defies logic, no? So, anyway, ting makikita natin yung matrix, paminsan-minsan sa news, nandun yung command and control. Doon sa matrix mo, no? So, in short, I think the committee should have the confidence that you have done a cost-benefit, risk-benefit approach already to this decision that we are facing, no? To relocate, not to relocate, to improve the facilities. But, having said that, as a last point, before you are allowed to leave by the chairman, no? Siguro, we cannot continue raiding, doing this halughog forever. At a certain point, there must be some institutionalized response to this problem of disrupting the command and control mechanism of these drug syndicates.
We really have to do it because there is only one, the sole aim is to take out the cell phone and you solve the problem.
But since it involves a budget para we can give you the capability to disrupt this command and control facility, then we will be looking at the LEDAC again. Okay, salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Chairman.
May I be allowed to leave, Mr. Chair?
Of course, thank you very much, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you very
Yung
much.
PhilHealth, we'll just wait for your position paper. Or unless you want to make a statement, hindi na. Submit na lang kayo. So, on that note, i-suspend natin ulit itong hearing. We might call for another hearing yung sa ibang bills. But the other bills, I think we're ready to do the TWG and then pwede ko na report out sa floor. No? Now, if there are remedial legislation do sa mga issues na raise ninyo, particularly yung sa Section 21, chain of custody, may mga nakausap din ako rito talaga mga justices pa. Sa amin na talaga ito yung problema, kaya maraming nadidismiss. But my staff, my legal staff, pag-aaralan talaga, baka merong infringement sa Anyway, sige.
Actually po, on that point, dun sa mga ni-raise ko, yung chain of custody, yung mga objections sa search warrant, sa illegal arrest, yun ang mariremedyohan po natin yan by educating our prosecutors, by educating our policemen. At siguro, we will be getting the support of the Senate as well as of the House tungkol sa establishment ng aking pet project, yung DOJ Academy. This will be some sort of a counterpart of the judges where they feel where they there was immersion on the part of the judges and parang re-education mga judges for about 2 months. I believe that we should do this also on the part of the prosecutors and of the police, and the educational facility would that be for the establishment of a DOJ Academy.
Will be most willing if you can craft a legislative proposal so pwede namin convert into a bill. Mas maganda kasi mukhang napag-aralan nyo na ito. But anyway, wala na siya rito. Pero unfortunately, doon babagsak yan sa Committee on Justice and Human Rights. Thank you.
Thank you very
much.
Anyway,
the hearing is suspended. Thank you very much for attending. And